Chapter 3296. This was an auxiliary martial skill that could directly determine the cultivation level of the opponent. Even if the opponent did not circulate the mantra, it could still be seen. This martial skill was actually of little value. It could make use of the opponent's cultivation level to raise one's own martial skill to the same level as the opponent's cultivation level to attack. It was a rather heaven-defying technique that borrowed strength to fight. But now that Little 5 was a peak late phase heaven class, the technique he could release was also at the peak late phase heaven class. Unless he met a master at the great perfection level, he could release a technique at the great perfection level. Other times he didn't need to use it at all. Of course, before he had his current strength, his auxiliary martial skill was still quite useful. He used to be a very powerful cultivator. When he was in the earth rank, he was able to escape after exchanging a blow with a high-level cultivator. But now, there was nothing special about it. That's good. The Xianxia ancestor nodded. This was also the reason why he let his 3 disciples do it. Once a master appeared, Little 5 would definitely notice and the 3 of them wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After all, this robbery had its risks. If the Blood Cloth Underworld sect killed them righteously, the Xianxia ancestor wouldn't be able to reason with them. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't just admit that the robbery group had something to do with him. Otherwise, Boss Bai would definitely use it as a pretext. Then, let's pack up and go to the Palace of Darkness tomorrow? Little 3 asked. Yes, you guys go. The Xianxia ancestor said, remember, you can't kill the Grand Elder of the Palace of Darkness. Kill the other disciples as a warning. Your goal is to draw out Lin. But what if Lin Yi comes? Little 3 continued to ask. If Lin Yi comes, spread the news and let Lin Yi's enemies kill him. Of course, if no one does it, you guys can kill him too. Just act according to the situation. The Xianxia ancestor ordered. No problem. Little 3 nodded in agreement. The Grand Elder sent Kong Ming away, but she couldn't figure out their motives. Of course, she didn't know that the Dark Palace was about to face a disaster, and she would lose a layer of skin even if she didn't die. She was currently at the critical moment of attacking the peak of the heaven rank. If she was injured, the Heaven Stage Island plan would have nothing to do with her. However, Patriarch Xianxia had already made a decision with just a few words. Even with the Grand Supreme Elder's ability, he could not change anything. So what if she thought of it? Even if he didn't expect it, what could he do? The next morning, a dozen uninvited guests came to the Dark Palace. Among them, the 3 leaders were the strongest, with Sky-class late phase peak. The rest of the underlings ranged from Sky-class late phase to Earth-class late phase peak. Of course, most of them were only Sky-class early phase. Boom, boom, boom. The stone phoenix statue at the foot of the Dark Palace was smashed by Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5. Sand and stones flew everywhere. This stone phoenix was made from hard iron stone, and hard iron stone was one of the raw materials used to make heaven-rank divine weapons. It was extremely hard, and it was different from the stones in the secular world. Its hardness was comparable to diamond, but it was still shattered by Little 3 and the others. It was obvious how strong they were. The disciple guarding the door was shocked by this sudden turn of events. He saw a group of masked men in black come to the door, and was about to ask them what they were here for. He didn't think that they would attack without saying anything and smash the stone phoenix representing the Dark Palace. What were they trying to do? The disciple was so scared he couldn't speak. He looked at the people in front of him in shock. When Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5 broke the stone phoenix, they already showed their strength, Sky-class late phase peak. 3 Sky-class late phase peak masters suddenly appeared here, and they didn't come with good intentions. How could the disciple feel at ease? This is a robbery. Call the person in charge of the Dark Palace out. Little 3 looked coldly at the disciple and humphed, hurry up, I'll give you 10 minutes. If you don't show up in 10 minutes, we'll force our way in. I'll go report right now, seniors. Please wait a moment. Although the disciple calling these thieves seniors made him feel bad, but they were strong now, and he had to bow his head. Hurry up. Little 3 humphed coldly. The disciple ran to report to the Grand Elder and Mengyao, And when the Grand Elder found out that a bunch of thieves had appeared outside the Palace of Darkness, breaking the stone phoenix totem of the Palace of Darkness, he was instantly enraged. Who are these people? How dare they come to our dark palace? Do they want to die? The Grand Elder wanted to demand an explanation from these people. But the disciple was startled. He promptly waved his hand and said, "Supreme Elder, don't be impulsive." The three leaders of that group of thieves revealed their strength when they crushed the phoenix. These three are peak late-stage heaven rank experts. What? Sky-class late-phase peak masters? The Grand Elder paused, her angry face immediately calmed down, and became terrifyingly gloomy. The Grand Elder originally thought that this was a group of thieves that didn't want to live anymore. No matter how strong they were, they wouldn't be able to do anything in front of her, a Sky-class late-phase peak master. But now, after hearing the disciples' words, the Grand Elder felt that something was wrong. What did three Sky-class late-phase peak masters mean? If the three of them worked together, it was possible that they could kill her. Did you notify Yao Yao? The Grand Elder took a deep breath, reminding herself to calm down. She had to calm down. What happened today wasn't a normal thing, and she had to be careful or the consequences would be unimaginable. I've already sent someone to notify her. Palace Master Chu should know by now. The disciple was talking when Meng Yao walked in with a serious face. Grand Elder, Meng Yao said hurriedly after walking in. The Grand Elder waved her hand. Yao Yao, come with me, let's go take a look. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse, and if it's a curse, we can't avoid it. These people didn't force their way in, they just want to see the people in charge of the Dark Palace. Perhaps there's still a chance to turn things around. Chapter 3297. After accepting the inheritance of the Dark Phoenix, her strength had increased by leaps and bounds, but she was still only in Earth-class early phase. But as the Palace Master of the Dark Palace, she had to take responsibility and show herself. Meng Yao and the Grand Elder soon arrived at the entrance of the Dark Palace. At this point, Little Three and the others were getting impatient. He jumped up and slammed his palm on the sign that said, Dark Palace. Stop! At this moment, Meng Yao and the Grand Elder arrived at the scene. The Grand Elder's heart skipped a beat when he saw Little Three making a move. He leaped up and attacked Little Three. Bang! The two's palms collided and quickly separated. Of course, the two of them were just probing each other, they didn't clash head-on. But even so, the Supreme Elder was shocked. This Little Three really has the strength of a peak late-stage heaven rank. He isn't simple. If they fought head-on, the Grand Elder wouldn't be able to kill him at all, and she'd be heavily injured instead. This discovery made her a little depressed. Where did these people come from? I am the Grand Elder of the Dark Palace. May I ask where you heroes are from, and what business do you have here at the Dark Palace? The Grand Elder landed and cupped her fists. She was pissed off at these people's evil actions, but she didn't dare get angry at the situation. That would be suicide. We brothers want to start our own sect, but we're lacking some resources. We're here to ask for some from the Dark Palace. I wonder if this Grand Elder here will agree, or agree, or agree. Little Three smiled. What do you want, heroes? The Grand Elder asked helplessly. Start a sect? Need some resources? Wasn't that robbery? Robbery? Just say it out loud. There was no need for so many reasons and excuses. But even though the Great Elder knew this, he could only ask patiently. The cultivation world was different from the mundane world. There was no room for reasoning when it came to robberies. It was the law of the jungle. The Palace of Darkness was weak, so naturally, these people came to bully them. What do you want? Brother, didn't I say it just now? We brothers want to establish our own sect, but we currently lack some resources. Little Three said. What resources do you need? Asked the Grand Elder. Establishing a sect requires some cultivation resources, right? What heavenly materials and earthly treasures? We must have them. Little Three said. You mean we're going to give you heaven and earth treasures? In fact, the Grand Supreme Elder had already guessed something. These cultivators naturally did not come to rob for money. If they wanted money, they would not come to rob ancient sections. They could just rob any financial group in the secular world and they would have everything. The reason they came to the ancient sect was naturally for the cultivation resources. That's right, give us everything you have. Little 3 nodded. You want all of them? The great elder's face changed. He didn't expect these people to be so greedy. They wanted all the resources of the Dark Palace. Wasn't that the same as asking for the Dark Palace's life? Hee, of course, but don't worry, it's not over yet. Little 3 waved her hand and continued, we still need a place to establish our sect. I think this Dark Palace's location is not bad. Let it belong to us from now on. You guys can move away. Don't even think about it. The Grand Supreme Elder was shaking with anger. This is too much, too much. Don't you know that your actions have already broken the rules of cultivation in the ancient times? Broken? Ah, old woman, are you out of your mind? You want to talk about ancient rules with us robbers? Are you crazy? Little 3 laughed. If you have the ability, then do it. If you don't, then bear with it. I'll give you a few days to think about it. In a few days, when we come here again, we will take over the Dark Palace. When that time comes, don't blame us for not giving you face. Dream on. There's no need to wait. I can tell you clearly that this is the birthplace of the Dark Palace. We will not give it to you. This is the honor of the Dark Palace. You will not be allowed to tarnish it. As for the resources you want, I can give you some. I hope that you will leave after you get them. Don't go too far. The Grand Supreme Elder said firmly. The Grand Supreme Elder would never give up the Dark Palace's territory. This was the honor of the Dark Palace. She would defend it with her life. She would not allow the Dark Palace to be destroyed in her hands. The birthplace of the Dark Palace passed down by her ancestors could not be lost. The Grand Elder could give up some of his training resources, he could take the insults and mockery, but if someone wanted to do something that would damage the Dark Palace's foundation, then he would never do it, even if it meant death. One had to say, although the Grand Supreme Elder was a snobbish person, she was sincere towards the Dark Palace. As long as it was beneficial to the Dark Palace, she would do anything that would lose her dignity. But if it was not beneficial to the Dark Palace, she would not be allowed to be killed. Old thing, I think you're going to do this the hard way. Little 3 was waiting for the Grand Supreme Elder to say this. He was going to establish his dominance. Little 3 laughed coldly and said to Little 4 and Little 5, Second brother, third brother, let's teach this old woman a lesson. All right. Little 4 and Little 5 replied. The 3 of them surrounded the Grand Supreme Elder. The Grand Supreme Elder's heart skipped a beat. She didn't think that the 3 of them would attack just like that. They didn't care about the ancient rules at all. But no matter what, she had to keep going. If she did, she would lose the birthplace of the Dark Palace. Then she'd be the sinner of the Dark Palace. She wouldn't be able to face the ancestors of the Dark Palace in the afterlife. Meng Yao was panicking, but there was nothing she could do. She was weak, an Earth-class early phase. She had no advantage in front of these people. She could only be panicking, but she couldn't help at all. Plus, if she went to help, she might even be more of a hindrance. After all, the Grand Supreme Elder had to take care of her and couldn't focus on the enemies. Chapter 3298. The 3 of them attacked at the same time, and the Grand Elder had to take it all on his own. One could imagine how pitiful it would be. The Grand Elder's attack was neutralized by the 3 of them, but the 3 of them focused their attacks on the Grand Elder at the same time. 3 different directions, 3 different moves, all aimed at the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder didn't have time to react, and he couldn't care less about the front and the back. The 3 attacks landed on the Grand Elder at the same time, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he landed heavily on the ground. He'd suffered an extremely serious internal injury. Overconfident old thing, I'll give you a few days to think about it. Next time, it won't be this easy. If you don't leave the Palace of Darkness, the next time will be the day everyone in the Palace of Darkness dies. Little 3 looked at the Grand Elder on the ground, his eyes flashing with viciousness. Or you, could it be Kong Ming Ming sent you? Meng Yao was worried about the Grand Elder's safety, but this wasn't the time to worry about him. She had to figure out where these people came from. The Grand Elder could be very harsh and unreasonable at times, but Meng Yao could see that he was loyal to the Palace of Darkness. She was very worried. Meng Yao had thought of something before, and that was Kong Ming had said something before he left yesterday. He said that the ancient level wasn't peaceful these days, and there were robbers and gangs, and these people came the next day. Was there really such a coincidence in this world? These people? Meng Yao felt that they had something to do with Kong Ming. Little Three paused. He didn't expect Meng Yao to be this smart, guessing their identity. This was the deadliest. The reason why Patriarch Xianxia made them cover their faces was to avoid detection. He didn't want them to show their true faces to others. But Meng Yao had guessed it. Yet, Xiao Sen couldn't do anything to Meng Yao. He could do anything to the Grand Elder and the others from the Dark Palace, but not to Meng Yao. She was the inheritor of the Dark Palace's metal element, and was crucial to the Xianxia Elder's future plans on Sky-class Island. If he hurt Meng Yao, he wouldn't be able to walk away unscathed. Thinking of this, Little Three suddenly had an idea and snorted, "Oh? How did you know? Are you really sent by Kong Ming?" Meng Yao didn't think that the mistress would admit to it. Meng Yao's face turned ugly. "So you're saying that you're here to cause trouble for me?" "That's right, I'm guessing. So you are from the Heavenly Elixir sect?" Although the highest elder was seriously injured, he was annoyed when he heard Little Three's words. Is the Heavenly Elixir sect going to take the lead in breaking the ancient rules? What do you mean? Little Three pretended to be confused. We wanted to rob the Heavenly Elixir sect. I heard that they're the richest sect in the ancient world, and they're all refiners without much strength. But we didn't expect them to be a bunch of tough bones. Motherfucker, there's an endless supply of masters, and there's even a consummate master. We didn't get any benefits at all. If it wasn't for that Elder Kong Ming being such a good person, telling us that the Dark Palace was the weakest and easy to bully, we wouldn't have come here. It's Kong Ming after all. Meng Yao gritted her teeth. Although these people weren't sent by Kong Ming directly, they were definitely related to Kong Ming. This Kong Xiaoming came to propose yesterday and failed. After he went back, he was up to no good and brought this group of people over. Or rather, this group of people hadn't just arrived yesterday. Kong Xiaoming had told them about it before they arrived. But Kong Xiaoming had arrived before them. Otherwise, how would they know that the ancient plane wasn't peaceful recently? Girl, don't care about that Kong Ming. You're the palace master here, right? I'll give you a chance to think about it. We'll come back in a few days. Little Three said and waved his hand. Let's go. With that, Little Three led his people down the mountain. His followers didn't even have the chance to do anything before they left. They were only here to cheer. If Little Three hadn't injured the highest elder, they would have ganged up on him and killed a few of the Dark Palace's disciples. But now, there was no need for that. They had achieved their goal. Highest elder, are you all right? Meng Yao walked over and helped the highest elder up after they left. They've gone too far. The highest elder's face was filled with anger and unwillingness, but there was also a deep sense of helplessness. Although this group of robbers was arrogant, they were extremely strong. The Supreme Elder couldn't compete with them at all. Now, she had suffered a serious internal injury, and it made her lose all hope. She knew her own body well. She was planning to break through to Sky-class late phase peak soon. If she did, not only would the Dark Palace's overall strength increase, but she would also be able to participate in the Sky-class island plan. If everything went well, she might even be able to step into Heaven's path. However, even though it was a good idea, he didn't expect such a thing to happen at this critical moment. This caused the Grand Elder's eyes to be filled with despair. It was all over. The Dark Palace might not even be able to get through this, let alone increase their strength. Heaven's path, on the other hand, was even more distant. Meng Yao was silent. Kong Ming's actions were indeed a bit unreasonable, but she understood the law of the jungle even before she joined the Dark Palace. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's strength, she would have been eaten up a long time ago. But now that this was happening to the Dark Palace, Meng Yao wouldn't be happy. Highest Elder, what do we do? These people? Yao, in order to protect the Dark Palace, we can only agree to the Sky Elixir sect's request. Marry the young master of the Sky Elixir sect, and you can ask for their protection. The highest elder wasn't willing to do this, but she didn't think that there would be any other way if she didn't do this now. Mengyao paused after hearing the highest elder's words. No, I don't want to, that's impossible. Chapter 3299. But I won't do something like this, I like Lin Yi, I won't betray him. Mengyao shook her head firmly. Elder, I'll talk to Lin Yi about this. I'm sure he'll have a way to solve this. Lin Yi? Yao Yao, don't be stupid, Lin Yi's just a lone practitioner. How could he have a solution? His true strength has already been exposed. How could he be a match for these people? You have to know that there are at least 3 Sky-class late-phase peak masters among them. In the ancient times, other than the Sky Elixir sect, who else could suppress them? The Grand Elder said with disdain after hearing Mingyao's words. She'd never liked Lin. No, Lin Yi will definitely have a solution. Mengyao said, but her heart was beating like a drum. She'd spent the longest time with Lin Yi, and she knew exactly how strong Lin Yi was. Lin Yi might be able to kill someone stronger than him, but he'd still be at his weakest. Mengyao knew how many high-level masters died, and now there were at least 3 Sky-class late-phase peak masters. Could Lin Yi really deal with them? Yao Yao, this is settled. I'll talk to the Sky Elixir sect and let them propose. If Lin Yi isn't a match for them, then our Palace of Darkness is finished. The Grand Elder said firmly. Grand Elder, when I came to the Palace of Darkness, you said that you wouldn't interfere with my personal affairs. If this is your decision, then I'll have to leave. I'd rather die than follow you. Mengyao said with determination. The Grand Elder was a bit dumbfounded. She knew what kind of person Mengyao was, and she was completely different from Yiwan. Yiwan accepted everything, but Mengyao knew how to fight back. With her personality, she might really fight back with her life. But, Yao Yao, do you want to see the Palace of Darkness fall? The Great Elder sighed and asked. No, Lin Yi will find a way. Mengyao said firmly. Sigh. The Grand Elder shook his head helplessly. Yao Yao, help me back to my room to rest. If you insist on doing this, then it means that the heavens want to destroy the Palace of Darkness. However, you're the inheritor. Even if Kong Ming Ming is the son-in-law of the 5 Elements sect, you're still an inheritor. The 5 Elements sect won't make things too difficult for you. Yao Yao, promise me that one day, when you go to the Heavenly Stage Island and step into the Heavenly Dao, you must revive the Dark Knight Palace. Grand Elder? Mengyao didn't expect the Grand Elder to say something like this. She fell silent for a moment. Yes, the Grand Elder may have some flaws here and there, but her heart was for the Palace of Darkness, and that would never change. But how good would it be if she could trust Lin Yi? Alright, that's enough. Go look for Lin Yi. When Lin Yi arrives, you'll know that he's a loose cultivator. How weak they are. The Grand Elder interrupted Mengyao and slowly walked into the Dark Palace with Mengyao's support. The Grand Elder was heavily injured and went into isolation to recuperate. Perhaps she was completely disappointed in Mengyao, waiting for the end of the Dark Palace to come. Mengyao didn't say anything, but the news of what happened in front of the Palace of Darkness spread across the entire Palace of Darkness. All the disciples were in a state of panic. Mengyao couldn't help but frown at the situation, but she didn't explain anything. It was pointless to say anything at this point. The Grand Elder was injured, and it was a fact. Everything would have to wait for Lin Yi to come. If Lin Yi were to make a move, then it would be more useful than 100 or 1,000 words from Mengyao. Go back and do your own things, the sky isn't falling yet. Mengyao waved her hand, telling the confused disciples to go back to their own things. Mengyao's authority in the Dark Palace was second only to the Grand Elder, so her words were very effective. The disciples left in a blink of an eye. Mengyao went back to her room and called Lin. What happened just now was too sudden, and there were a lot of disciples watching. Mengyao didn't notice that Zhao Qibing, who was cleaning the toilet, had sneaked in behind the disciples. Although the conversation between Mengyao and the Grand Elder wasn't loud, Zhao Qibing still heard something. So when Mengyao called Lin Yi, he called Kong Ming Ming as well. Elder Kong, it's Lil Bing. Zhao Qibing said. Oh, Qibing. What's up? Is there news from the Dark Palace? Kong Ming Ming asked. Yes, didn't you come to force the marriage? Today, A group of robbers came and injured the Grand Elder, but Meng Yao and the Grand Elder had a dispute. The Grand Elder wanted Meng Yao to marry into the Sky Elixir sect, but Meng Yao didn't agree and insisted on looking for Lin. She's probably calling Linny now. Kong Ming Ming said softly. Oh, really? That's great. Kong Ming Ming laughed happily. I'm not afraid of her looking for him, I'm afraid that she won't look for him. Qibing, you've done well. Don't worry, after this, you'll definitely get the position of deacon. Not only that, if you get the appreciation of Ancestor Xianxia, who is also my father-in-law, it won't be hard for you to become an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Realm. Ah? Really? Zhao Qibing was excited. He didn't think that he would have this kind of opportunity. That's right. You might not know this, but your father and Elder Mian are highly valued here. They're secretly receiving their strength enhancement, and when the time comes, you might be able to enjoy this benefit too. The benefit Kong Ming Ming was talking about was naturally transforming them into biohumans. This was basically a trap, but when it came out of his mouth, it became a great thing. But Zhao Qibing didn't know the inside story and thought that he was valued because of his contribution. He said gratefully, "Don't worry, Elder Kong, what else do you want me to do next?" Next, pay attention to when Lin Yi goes to the Dark Palace. When Lin Yi goes there, you must call me immediately. Kong Ming Ming ordered. All right, no problem. This was a simple task for Zhao Qibing. He quickly nodded in agreement. Chapter 3300. Although Lin Yi had a trump card, he was no longer the Sky-class early-phase peak master that was chased by the association like a stray dog. The current Lin Yi was a Sky-class mid-phase master, and with the help of the Essence Necklace, he should have the strength to kill a Sky-class late-phase peak master. After all, he was only a Sky-class early-phase peak, and without the Essence Necklace, he could injure He Tianzu, who was a Sky-class late-phase peak master. Now, Lin Yi's strength had increased, and he had the Essence Necklace. If he still couldn't deal with a Sky-class late-phase peak master, then he should really buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. He might even be able to take on a master with the strength of a perfect perfection. Of course, the premise was that Lin Yi could use the 11th form of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm. Although the 5 elements 8 trigram palm only had 10 forms, the Frenzy Fire Fist had as many as 30 forms. When the Big Fire Lion told Lin Yi this secret, Lin Yi was very excited. If this combination continued, in theory, he should be able to use the 30th form of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm. That power would be invincible. Lin Yi only used the activation method of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm, and the incantations for the martial arts were all from the Frenzy Fire Fist. The activation method didn't change, and as long as he changed the incantations, Lin Yi could combine more and more powerful forms. However, these were all Lin Yi's guesses. In fact, Lin Yi didn't know if he could use more than 10 forms of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. In theory, it was possible, but it didn't mean that it was possible in practice. After all, the 5 elements 8 trigram palm had a limit of 10 forms. Opening the door, he looked at the familiar courtyard, and a sense of security filled his heart. Unknowingly, Lin Yi had already treated this place as his own home, or rather, a place with Meng Yao and Shu. This was home. Oh, Shield Bro? Yushu was sleeping when she heard noises coming from the yard. She looked out the window and saw that Lin Yi, Shirhan, and Cheng Yi were back. Yushu had heard some news about the ancient world recently, since Meng Yao would call her occasionally to ask about Lin Yi's situation. Meng Yao told Yushu about her worries and rumors when she found out that Lin Yi wasn't in the country. Shu, it's so late, why aren't you sleeping? Lin Yi didn't expect Shu to come out. How have you been? Did anyone come looking for trouble with you? Not really. Yushu shook her head. Right, Shield Bro, is what Yao Yao said true? Are you being hunted by the Overseas Cultivators Association? Lin Yi heaved a sigh of relief when he heard that little Shu was fine. It seemed that the people of the ancient times still had some rules. He didn't do anything reckless, but he didn't expect that even Shu knew about it. But since it was Meng Yao who said it, it wasn't surprising. But it's all in the past now. Right, how's Yao Yao doing in the Palace of Darkness? Lin Yi was still worried about Meng Yao. After all, the Palace of Darkness was different from the Ice Palace. The Grand Elder was obviously a snobbish man, and Meng Yao might have found a point of balance for now, but the moment the two of them disagreed, the balance would be broken. She's fine, and she misses Shield Bro a lot. Maybe you can give her a call, Shield Bro? Yushu always liked to pester Lin Yi to tell her stories when he came back, but today, for the first time, she asked Lin Yi to call Meng Yao first. One could see how important Meng Yao was in her heart. Okay, I'll call her tomorrow morning. It's too late now. It was already midnight when Lin Yi got home, so Lin Yi planned to call her tomorrow. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that Lin Yi's phone rang. Lin Yi paused when he saw the caller ID. It was Meng Yao. Lin Yi was puzzled. How did Meng Yao know that he was back? Could it be Shu? No, Shu came out when she saw him coming back. Could it be Wang Xinyan? But Wang Xinyan wasn't as vigilant as Shu. She should be sleeping right now. Otherwise, Wang Xinyan would definitely come downstairs instead of calling Meng Yao. Hello, Yao Yao? No matter what, Lin Yi picked up the phone first. Lin Yi, where are you? Are you back? Meng Yao's voice was nervous and hurried. It was understandable. If Lin Yi was still abroad, he wouldn't be able to make it back in time. I just got home. I'm talking to Shu in the yard. Why are you calling me now? Lin Yi found it strange that Meng Yao didn't know where he was. It seemed like no one told her. Lin Yi, something happened in the Palace of Darkness? Meng Yao didn't hide anything. She told Lin Yi everything, from Kong Ming bringing people to propose to the 3 Sky-class late-phase peak bandits robbing the Palace of Darkness. Lin Yi couldn't help but frown when he heard Kong Xiaoming jumping out again. Anger welled up in his heart. It seemed like this guy was still restless. He couldn't help but jump out again after hearing the news from abroad. The young master of the Sky Elixir sect wanted to marry Meng Yao? At least, Lin Yi didn't believe it. After all, Lin Yi had heard from Kong Xiaobo and Peach that Silkworm Transformation wasn't a bad person. Not to mention that Silkworm Transformation had helped Lin Yi a couple of times. How could Lin Yi believe that Silkworm Transformation would do something like this? It was probably the work of the Xianxia ancestor and Kong Ming, wasn't it? But Kong Ming marrying the 11th surprised Lin. Peach had only said that Kong Ming had abandoned her, but didn't say anything about the Xianxia ancestor and the 11th's identities. So now that he knew that Kong Ming was the Xianxia ancestor's son-in-law, Lin Yi was very shocked. The two of them actually got together? They were both extremely bad people. What good could come out of them being together? However, Lin Yi smiled coldly. He was worried that he wouldn't have a chance to show his power again after coming back. Now that all the forces were ready to make a move, if Lin Yi didn't show his power again, it would be too late when his enemies joined forces to find trouble with him. Although Lin Yi had a new trump card, he couldn't face multiple masters at the same time. And now, this group of robbers came to his door. Lin Yi was going to use them. Chapter 3301. Of course, Lin Yi didn't believe that this group of people appeared out of nowhere. From Lin Yi's point of view, this group of people was more or less related to Kong Ming and the Xianxia ancestor. However, it wasn't a bad thing to spread the news of Lin Yi's current strength through these people. It was just that 3 Sky-class peak late-phase masters. If they attacked together, it would be hard for Lin Yi to deal with them. He could only find a chance to kill one in a second to shock them and let the rest retreat. He didn't know if it would work. Lin Yi prayed in his heart, "This essence necklace, please don't screw it up." "I know, I'll go to the Palace of Darkness tomorrow." Lin Yi nodded. "Yao, don't worry, I said I'll protect you for life." Meng Yao blushed slightly. If it was before, she might say in her heart, "Who needs you to protect me for life?" But now, Meng Yao already understood her feelings. She was only happy after hearing what Lin Yi said. "Rest early, I'll go tomorrow morning," Lin Yi said. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Meng Yao didn't know why, but after hearing Lin Yi's words, she felt very relieved, as if the things that were going to happen tomorrow were nothing. Although Lin Yi said it casually, he didn't dare to waste a second after hanging up. He turned to Yushu and the others. "Shu, you take Xiaohan and Yi to rest. I need to prepare for tomorrow morning's trip to the Palace of Darkness." "Okay, Shield Bro." Yushu was very clear-cut when it came to the big picture. She knew that Lin Yi had something urgent to attend to, and so she didn't bother him with questions about the foreign trip. Su Shihan and Qing Yi's explanations were all the same. Lin didn't go back to his room directly. Instead, he went to the backyard of the villa. Lin Yi came here to try activating the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng. Before, Lin Yi only imagined that he could activate the 11th form, but he didn't try it. After all, theory was theory, reality was reality. Logically speaking, when Lin Yi was Earth Class Late Phase Peak and Sky Class Early Phase, he should be able to activate the 10th form, but he didn't manage to do it until he was Sky Class Early Phase Peak. So, Lin Yi had to practice it. If he could successfully activate the 11th form, then Lin Yi would be more confident when he went to the Palace of Darkness tomorrow. By then, Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid of anything. If he couldn't, then Lin Yi could only resign himself to fate. When he came to the familiar backyard of the villa, General Wei Wu, Skybolt Pig, and Feng ran out and surrounded Lin Yi intimately. These three spirit beasts were the closest to Lin Yi, so they were naturally happy that Lin Yi was back. Go play, I don't have time for you guys today. Lin Yi waved his hand, signaling them to go play. Lin Yi's mission tonight was the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng. The three spirit beasts naturally understood Lin Yi's words. Although they were a little disappointed, they still went to the side and didn't disturb Lin. Lin Yi calmed himself down and revised the 10th form of Fire Bagwazeng. This form was used when Lin Yi was facing He Tianzu overseas. He was forced to activate it, but now Lin Yi could use it freely. After activating it, Lin Yi could clearly feel that there was still a lot of qi left in his body. At least, he could activate it one more time. This was not only the benefit of increasing his strength, but also the essence qi necklace. Not only could the necklace increase his attack and defense, but it could also increase his stamina. Therefore, Lin Yi's stamina and qi were a little more than before. This was reasonable. However, this discovery made Lin Yi very excited. The 10th style of the Frenzy 8 trigrams palm could heavily injure a Sky-class late phase master. If he could use it twice tomorrow and injure 2 Sky-class late phase masters, it would be enough to shock everyone present. However, if possible, it was more important to activate the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng. After activating the 10th form of Fire Bagwazeng, Lin Yi's stamina was not enough to activate the 10th form again. But it was enough to activate the 9th form or use it to escape. Lin Yi sat cross-legged on the ground and activated the Art of Dragon Mastery. His qi recovered quickly, and Lin Yi found that the speed at which he recovered his qi was also faster than before. Obviously, this should be because of the Essence Qi necklace. This Essence Qi necklace was really a good thing. Soon, when Lin Yi recovered his qi, Lin Yi started to try to activate the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng. However, the activation of the 11th form was obviously not as easy as the 10th form. Lin Yi's first attempt ended in failure. But Lin Yi was not discouraged. The previous forms also failed, but this time, Lin Yi clearly felt that he was just a little bit away from success. If he continued to try, he would succeed. Because of this belief, Lin Yi kept trying to activate the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng for the whole night. Finally, at dawn, Lin Yi successfully activated it, and he was very familiar with it. And Lin Yi had more or less figured out the pattern of the Essence Qi necklace increasing attack power. The probability was 50%. In other words, if Lin Yi used the same move and failed once, he would definitely succeed the next time. And if he succeeded this time, he would definitely fail the next time. In other words, the probability was not random, but a real 50%. This discovery made Lin Yi very happy. Before Lin Yi left, he activated the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng once at home. Next time, he would be able to get the 11th form of Fire Bagwazeng that increased attack power. After discovering this pattern, Lin Yi rode on the purple lightning beast at dawn, full of confidence as he headed towards the Dark Palace. This was Lin Yi's first time at the Dark Palace, but Meng Yao had already given the address to Lin. Lin Yi rode on the purple lightning beast and headed towards the Dark Palace. Because it was early in the morning, the sky was still dark, so no one would notice Lin Yi and his beast. Looking at the majestic gate of the Dark Palace and the broken statue of the stone phoenix, Lin Yi sighed. This Kong Ming Ming was too arrogant. Did he really think that he was a stray dog? Chapter 3302. Lin Yi didn't believe that the robbers in the Dark Palace had nothing to do with Kong Ming and the Xianxia ancestor. How could there be so many peak late phase heaven-class masters in the ancient world? Lin Yi knew more about the Xianxia ancestor. These 3 people were probably brought here by the Xianxia ancestor. Otherwise, all this talk about starting a sect was bullshit. The Palace of Darkness wasn't a place with abundant energy. Without the Dark Phoenix bloodline, training here would only be average. He would look for other deep mountains and forests. There was more energy there than here. Lin Yi could believe that these bandits were robbing resources, but he didn't believe that they were robbing territory. But did the Xianxia ancestor and Kong Ming really just want to cause trouble for the Dark Palace? Or did they have other motives? What do you do? Just as Lin Yi stood in front of the mountain gate, a disciple hiding in the dark walked out, trembling. He looked at Lin Yi and asked timidly. The disciple couldn't be blamed for being timid. What happened yesterday really scared him. Today, Lin Yi came here riding a spirit beast, looking very domineering. The disciple hid far away and only dared to ask when he saw that Lin Yi didn't make a fuss. Is Yao Yao here? Lin Yi looked at the disciple and frowned. Wasn't he a little too timid? He still wanted to be a disciple like this. There really was no one else in the Dark Palace. Yao Yao? The disciple paused and then thought of something. Are you looking for our palace, Master Chu? Yes, is she here? Lin Yi asked. Are you the young master of the Heaven Elixir sect, Silkworm Transformation? The disciple jumped in fright. Kang Xiaoming had come to propose, and now this domineering young man was standing there. The disciple immediately thought of Sky's Silkworm Transformation. What's Silkworm Transformation? Lin Yi paused and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How did this disciple become so frightened? Was it rain from wind? He didn't look like that pretty boy from Silkworm Transformation, did he? Go find your palace master and tell her that Lin Yi is here. Ah, you're Lin Yi? Okay, wait a moment. Although Lin Yi's reputation had been tarnished recently, it didn't affect Lin Yi's prestige in the hearts of these disciples. He didn't dare to underestimate Lin Yi when he appeared in such a domineering manner. He quickly turned around and reported to Meng Yao. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness as he looked at the direction the disciple left in. Because Lin Yi wasn't looking at the disciple, but at an old acquaintance of Lin Yi's. This person was Zhao Qibing. However, Lin didn't stop Zhao Qibing right away. He wanted to see what this kid was up to. One had to know that the perception of a Sky-class master was very strong. It was easy for Lin Yi to watch Zhao Qibing's every move. Zhao Qibing secretly took out his phone from his pocket and dialed a number. Although Lin Yi didn't know who he was calling, he didn't care what he said. Lin Yi could hear everything clearly from where he was. Elder Kong? I'm Lil Bing. Zhao Qibing said in a low voice, as if he didn't know that he was being watched by Lin Yi. He thought that his position was hidden and Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find him. He didn't think that there would be someone in the Palace of Darkness who would inform him. Oh, Qibing, what's up? Kong Ming asked. Is Lin Yi here? That's right, Elder Kong. Lin Yi is here. He's at the entrance of the Palace of Darkness. Zhao Qibing said. Alright, I got it. Don't worry, I'll take care of it, Kong Ming said faintly. Alright, thank you, Elder Kong. I'll be waiting to become the manager of the Sky Elixir sect. Zhao Qibing said quickly and hung up the phone and left in a hurry. Lin Yi's face was expressionless, but he was laughing coldly in his heart. It seemed that his guess was right. Everything that happened in the Palace of Darkness had something to do with Kong Ming. That robber group was probably sent by Kong Ming. Otherwise, why would Zhao Qibing call him? However, Lin Yi started to understand what Kong Ming was trying to do. Kong Ming paid so much attention to whether he came to the Palace of Darkness or not. It was most likely that he went to the Palace of Darkness to cause trouble, not for Meng Yao, but for him. Lin Yi, Kong Ming, and Elder Xianxia had a deep grudge against each other, and it was impossible for Kong Ming not to do anything when Lin Yi exposed his strength abroad. But Lin Yi didn't come back for a while, and Kong Ming didn't have a chance to cause trouble for him. He probably couldn't hold it in anymore and wanted to use the Palace of Darkness to lure him out. Because Kong Ming knew that this was related to Meng Yao, and he couldn't just ignore it. But he didn't know that Lin Yi wasn't hiding abroad, but to increase his strength and create the Jade Space. And Lin Yi was worried about not having a chance to show off his new strength, to become someone who could kill a Sky-class late-phase peak in one hit, and this Kong Ming Ming gave him the chance. So, Lin Yi didn't stop Zhao Qibing at all. If he stopped him, who would tell him? Lin Yi came here today, not afraid of the robber group coming, as long as they didn't come. If they didn't come, wouldn't Lin Yi's trip be in vain? He might even have to stay here and wait for them to come, and that would be a waste of time. Lin Yi had a lot of things to do now. After this, he'd suppress the enemy forces, and Lin Yi was ready to find Armadillo. He had the location of the poison refinery, and all he needed was action. Not long after Zhao Qibing disappeared, Meng Yao appeared. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that in such a short time, Meng Yao was already an Earth-class early-phase master. Yao Yao, I didn't think that your strength would increase so quickly. Lin Yi looked at the familiar face in front of him and smiled. Meng Yao missed Lin Yi. After separating from him, Meng Yao realized how important he was to her. She hadn't seen Lin Yi for a while, and there were so many things she wanted to say, but at this moment, all of them turned into 2 words. Chapter 3303. My strength isn't as strong as Xiaoxiao's. Meng Yao smiled. How did you get here so fast? I thought you'd have to wait. How could I not come when you're in trouble? Lin Yi said, don't worry about Zhangwen, leave it to me. It's not a big deal. Grand Elder's injured. Meng Yao sighed. She's injured now, and won't be able to recover in a short period of time. She won't have the chance to step into Sky-class late-phase peak. It's a loss to the palace. Ha, Yao Yao, you don't need to say anything, I understand what you mean, Lin Yi smiled. That old woman deserves it, she's so snobbish. But, you're the palace master of the Dark Palace, I'll still help. And, thank you. Meng Yao knew that Lin Yi had an opinion of Grand Elder, but she was the palace master now, and naturally, she couldn't consider her own feelings. She had to look at the bigger picture, and she was responsible for the rise and fall of the Dark Palace. Grand Elder may be a bit snobbish, but her feelings for the Dark Palace are unparalleled. I know that, otherwise I wouldn't have helped, Lin Yi said. When this is over, I'll help her heal. I actually want to raise your strength to Earth-class late-phase peak, but I'm afraid that it'll affect your own training. And I don't need it. I'm already very fast with my own training. Meng Yao didn't really mind, but I don't know if those people will come today. Lin Yi, are you sure? Don't worry. Lin Yi smiled. If I wasn't sure, I'd just bring you guys back to West Star Village. That's true. Meng Yao couldn't help but smile. As for whether they'll come today, I'm sure they will. Lin Yi said with certainty. But how do you know? Meng Yao paused. There's a mole in your palace of darkness, Lin Yi said. A mole? Meng Yao's face changed. But then he remembered something. Zhao Qibing? That's right, that's him. Lin Yi nodded. It seems that Yao Yao's position as palace mistress wasn't picked up for nothing. She is still very powerful. Meng Yao's face reddened at Lin Yi's words. You think I really don't know anything? Yeah, he can even manage me. What's the big deal about managing the Palace of Darkness? Lin Yi laughed. Meng Yao was a little shy. He ignored the topic of Lin Yi and changed the topic. Zhao Qibing, this kid sure has guts. It seems like my punishment was too light. Don't touch him for now. It won't be too late to deal with him after this matter is over. Lin Yi waved his hand. Okay, I'll listen to you. Meng Yao and Lin Yi walked towards the guest room. At this time, the Grand Elder got the news of Lin Yi's arrival. Although Meng Yao had full control of the Palace of Darkness, that wasn't the case. These people had betrayed the Grand Elder. The moment Lin Yi came, the other elders went to inform the Grand Elder. In the eyes of these disciples, the Grand Elder was always behind closed doors, but these elders could still go and look for the Grand Elder. Elder Su, you're saying that Lin Yi came with his head up high, without any worry or helplessness. The Grand Elder heard Elder Su's report. It was strange. She didn't think highly of Lin Yi, and Lin Yi didn't show his face before. This time, he showed up as soon as Meng Yao called him. What did this mean? Was he really confident, or was he just acting for the sake of his woman? That arrogance was just to scare off the robbers? From the Grand Elder's perspective, Lin Yi shouldn't be that strong. If Lin Yi really was strong, why would he be chased by the overseas practitioners? Plus, it had been so long since the chase, why was he still hiding and not showing his face? If Lin Yi was really that strong, why would he need to hide? So the Grand Elder felt that it was the latter. Lin Yi was an impulsive person for a woman. This made the Grand Elder look down on Lin even more. She humphed and shook her head. Does he really think that acting can scare off those people? How naive. In the past, when the people killed by the blood-clothed underworld sect all misunderstood you, you might be able to scare them off. But now, who would believe you? Yao Yao, you're still too young. You're easily blinded by love, just like Yi Wan, or back then. Grand Elder, what should we do now? Elder Su smiled bitterly. If it was Yi Wan or in the past, he'd still talk behind her back, but now that it was Meng Yao, he didn't dare say anything. He could only ask carefully and awkwardly. Forget it, when those people come again, I'll talk to them. If it really doesn't work, we'll just give them the Palace of Darkness first, and I'll think of something. As long as there's life, there's hope. I'll talk to Yao Yao. After seeing that Lin Yi isn't reliable, she'll be disappointed. I'll talk to her again and let her marry into the Sky Elixir sect. With the Sky Elixir sect backing us up, these people will have to leave the same way they came in. The Grand Elder said helplessly. Grand Elder, you're really thoughtful. Elder Su quickly said. The Grand Elder waved his hand. Forget it, this is a good thing. Let Yao Yao understand that those practitioners aren't reliable at all. But just as the two were talking, a disciple came running over, panting. This disciple was Elder Su's confidant, so he came here first instead of looking for Meng Yao. Every elder had their own confidant disciple, their personal disciple. On the surface, these disciples were under Meng Yao's management, but they only listened to Meng Yao in general. If you really thought about it, they were still the best with their own master. But there was nothing she could do about it. Every sect was like that, and Meng Yao couldn't change that. As long as they didn't cause trouble, Meng Yao wouldn't care about them. After all, there weren't many direct disciples like that, and an elder would only have one or two. The rest were just normal disciples. Chapter 3304. Therefore, this disciple didn't even dare to show his face and ran over to report to Grand Elder and Elder Su while panting heavily. What? They're here so soon? Grand Elder froze. She didn't think that these bandits would come so soon after Lin Yi came. What a coincidence! However, she didn't have high hopes for Lin. She wanted to hold on for a few more days and wait for her injuries to recover before dealing with them, but now it seemed like she had no choice but to go out. With that thought, Grand Elder helplessly said to Elder Su beside her, Elder Su, help me out and take a look. Yes, Grand Elder. Elder Su hurriedly replied. And the group of people Kong Ming Ming sent had a clear goal. They were here for Lin. They lured Lin Yi out to confirm Lin Yi's strength. Their plan was to heavily injure Lin Yi, but not kill him. This way, Lin Yi's enemies would definitely come out and kill Lin. They wouldn't expose anything and wouldn't become enemies with Boss Bai. Even if Boss Bai guessed that they didn't kill Lin Yi, Boss Bai couldn't do anything about it. Of course, if their enemies didn't make a move, then these people would kill Lin Yi themselves. So, even though they knew that Lin Yi was in the Dark Palace, they didn't make a ruckus at the entrance. Instead, they rushed into the Dark Palace to find Lin. Their goal was clear. They didn't see any disciples guarding the entrance of the Dark Palace, so they didn't ask any questions. After rushing in, they headed straight for the guest room. It wasn't that they knew that Lin Yi was in the guest room, but that Zhao Qibing had informed Kong Ming Ming about Lin Yi's current location, and that was why these people went straight to the guest room. In the living room, Lin Yi and Meng Yao were reminiscing about old times. The two hadn't seen each other for a long time, and there were so many things they wanted to talk about. Lin Yi told Meng Yao about his experiences recently, and Meng Yao talked about how she built up her authority in the Palace of Darkness. The two of them had different experiences, but it was as if their hearts were connected. When they talked about these things, they felt especially warm and happy for each other. However, this beautiful scene did not last long. As the two of them were talking, there was a rush of footsteps coming from the door of the living room. This was little 3, little 4, and little 5 leading a group of people over. Little 5, how is it? What's Lin Yi's strength? Little 3 was a calm person. Although Lin Yi's strength had been exposed before, he had to confirm it again. Otherwise, he wouldn't feel at ease. Let me see. Little 5 stood at the door and didn't step in. He looked at Lin Yi, and in an instant, he knew Lin Yi's strength level. Brother 3, Lin Yi's strength is Sky Class Middle Phase now. So it's only Sky Class Middle Phase. Little 3 sighed in relief. It seemed that Lin Yi's actual strength wasn't that high. He didn't know how the rumors about him killing Sky Class Late Phase Peak Masters got out. It was a scam. Yes, only Sky Class Middle Phase, Little 5 confirmed. Let's go, follow me in. Little 3 laughed coldly, thinking about how to humiliate Lin Yi later. Before he came, he got Kong Ming Ming's instructions. Before he hurt Lin Yi, he had to humiliate and mock Lin Yi as much as possible, making Lin Yi feel ashamed. Even if Kong Ming Ming didn't say anything, Little 3 would still do it, not to mention that Kong Ming Ming, the Xianxia elder's son-in-law, had said something. So, when Little 3 entered, he looked at Meng Yao angrily. Girl, is that old woman from your dark palace dead yet? Have you made your decision? Are you prepared to give up the dark palace to us? You need to know that we're here today to take over the dark palace. Meng Yao was about to say something but was interrupted by Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't seem to care about Little 3 at all, continuing, our second-level automatic cauldrons are going to be on the market soon. Does the dark palace need a few? Meng Yao paused, knowing that Lin Yi was looking down on them. She smiled. If it's possible, of course I want them. I'm not going through the back door, am I? Oh, we're family. I'll talk to Jing Jing about it. Lin Yi smiled. Then I won't participate in the auction. Meng Yao said with a smile. The practitioners' trade fair was for the sake of building momentum, and not just anyone could attend the opening of the second-level automatic cauldrons. You'd have to make a reservation first and get the right to bid before you could attend the auction. After all, the cultivators all knew about the magic of the first-level automatic cauldrons. Now that the second-level automatic cauldrons were on the market, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was a golden signboard. It wasn't like before when the first-level automatic cauldrons were on the market, where everyone was skeptical. Now, it had attracted the attention of many ancient sects before it even hit the market. Meng Yao's Dark Palace, on the other hand, naturally wanted to buy a few cauldrons as well. If they were as convenient as the first-level cauldrons, then their first-level refiners would be able to make second-level pills. One had to know that the first-level refiner from the Dark Palace had the skills to make second-level pills, but he didn't have enough experience and control. That was why he failed so many times and didn't officially become a second-level refiner. If this second-level automatic cauldron was the same as the first-level automatic cauldrons and didn't have such strict requirements for the refiner, as long as they could control the fire and change the temperature, then the Dark Palace would be able to make second-level pills. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I said? Wu 3 was about to explode. This was blatant disrespect. At this moment, he couldn't take it anymore. Looking at the direction the guard left, a faint light flashed in Lin Yi's eyes. Because Lin Yi wasn't looking at the guard, but at an old acquaintance of Lin Yi's. This person was Zhao Qibing. Fuck, Lin Yi, you're still trying to act cool in front of me? You think I don't know your real situation? You're just a Sky-class mid-phase master, and you're being chased like a stray dog. If you acted cool in front of me before, I wouldn't dare do anything because of the rumors, but why would I be afraid of you now? Chapter 3305. Yao Yao, who's this idiot? Is he a disciple of the Dark Palace? How can he be so unruly? Lin Yi's words were arrogant, but Lin Yi's goal was to anger Little 3. Meng Yao couldn't help but laugh when she heard Lin Yi call Little 3, Lin Yi, this idiot? This idiot isn't from the Dark Palace. I don't know where he came from. Meng Yao trusted Lin Yi, so she said whatever Lin Yi said. She didn't think that Lin Yi wasn't a match for these people. Little girl, do you think that just because this kid is here, he can support you? Idiot? I'd like to see who's the big idiot here. Little 3 humphed coldly and walked towards Lin Yi. Sky-class mid-phase kid, you dare to be arrogant in front of me? Today, I'll let you know why flowers are so red. Little 3 said these words to disguise himself, to make himself look like an ancient sect robber group. He didn't want to cause trouble for the Xianxia ancestor, and didn't want people to suspect his background. Noisy. Lin Yi stood up and started the mantra for Frenzy Fist in his mind, but on the surface, he looked calm and didn't look like he was facing a great enemy. When Little 3 walked over, Lin Yi waved his hand casually and pushed out, Frenzy 8 trigrams palm, 11th form. The 50% increase in attack rate came into effect at this time. Once Lin Yi used this move, Little 3 would die for sure. Lin Yi was very clear about the power of the 11th form of Frenzy 8 trigrams palm. Little 3 didn't care before, but Lin Yi's true strength had been exposed, and with Little 5's help, it didn't matter. Lin Yi was only a sky class mid-phase now, he wasn't a threat at all. Plus, when Lin Yi stood up, he used the mantra, allowing Little 3 to truly feel the strength that Lin Yi was exhibiting, sky class mid-phase without a doubt. So, Little 3 wasn't afraid of Lin Yi's ability at all. In his eyes, Lin Yi was someone he could do whatever he wanted to him. However, the moment Lin Yi unleashed his technique, Little 3 suddenly felt that something was wrong. This was definitely not a martial skill that a heaven-rank middle-stage expert could use, definitely not. Little 3 quickly tried to use the incantation to protect itself with pure qi, but it was too late. Lin Yi's move was too fast, and Little 3 wasn't prepared for it at all. As a result, Little San was truly unlucky and miserable. Boom dash, Lin Yi's seemingly casual palm landed heavily on Little 3's chest, and Little 3, who had just been clamoring for Lin Yi to see why the flowers were so red, suddenly flew into the air, and flew backwards, and in his mouth was Little 3. At this moment he spat out a stream of blood. Yeah, look, he's right. I finally see why the flowers are so red. Lin Yi pointed at the rain of blood that Little 3 spat out and smiled faintly. Although it was a bloody scene, as the palace master of the Dark Palace, Meng Yao had long gotten used to it, so she didn't think it was scary. On the contrary, she was extremely excited. Lin Yi was really powerful, those rumors. What a joke. Who was Little 3? That was a sky-class late-phase peak master, and he was killed in one move by Lin Yi, and they even said that Lin Yi was being chased by a sky-class late-phase peak master from the association? Who was the one chasing who? Was it the other way around? Could it be that the Overseas Cultivators Association was trying to protect their own reputation? That's why they made up such a lie, making everyone think that the one being chased was Lin Yi, when in fact, they were the ones being chased? Of course, it wasn't just Meng Yao who was shocked, Little 4 and Little 5 who were standing at the door, as well as the people behind them. Little 4 and Little 5 looked at the flying Little 3, and their hearts couldn't be any more shaken. The two of them subconsciously took a few steps back, looking at Little 3 who had landed heavily on the ground. His eyes were bulging, and blood was flowing out of all his orifices, dyeing his mask red. There was a huge dent in his chest, evidently dead. Even with a 4th-level Great Recover pill, it wouldn't be able to save Little 3's life. This move was too ruthless and too fierce, but what shocked them was, what kind of master was Lin Yi? Why was it that when he used the mantra, he displayed the strength of a sky-class mid-phase master, and even now Lin Yi was still using the mantra, and the strength he displayed was still that of a sky-class mid-phase master? How could the martial technique he used be so powerful? They had seen their master, the Xianxia ancestor, use the martial technique, and the power of the martial technique used by the Xianxia ancestor should not be so powerful, right? Only an expert with the strength of a sky-class late-phase master at the Great Perfection Realm could achieve such a huge power to be able to kill a sky-class late-phase master in an instant. Moreover, this sky-class late-phase master at the Great Perfection Realm couldn't be an ordinary sky-class late-phase master at the Great Perfection Realm. It had to be a supermaster like the Xianxia ancestor, who was stronger than other Great Perfection Realm masters. Could it be that Lin Yi's current strength was already the same as the Xianxia ancestor? But how is this possible? However, to say that it was impossible, this was the truth that they had seen with their own eyes. It was 100 times more shocking than hearsay, and it couldn't be faked. Therefore, little 4 and little 5 were a little confused. Originally, they came to look for trouble and wanted to injure Lin Yi, but now it seemed that Lin Yi didn't injure them. No, it should be said that it was not bad that Lin Yi didn't kill them. Little 3 was the strongest existence among the three of them, but this strongest existence was killed by Lin Yi in one move, and he couldn't be more dead. Chapter 3306. Tell me, who sent you here? Lin Yi asked faintly. Who sent us here? We're here to rob, but we're eyeing the Dark Palace and want to take over this place. Little 4's heart jumped. Could it be that Lin Yi noticed something? But he would never admit it. If that was the case, then if Lin Yi knew that they were the Xianxia ancestors' disciples, wouldn't he just kill them all? One had to know that the hatred between Lin Yi and the Xianxia ancestor wasn't hidden, it was out in the open. Lin even dared to torture the Xianxia ancestor's daughter, little 11. Would Lin Yi let them go, not to mention these disciples who came looking for trouble? So, they couldn't admit it. Whether it was for confidentiality or to save their lives, they couldn't say it. Lin Yi's mouth flashed with a hint of mockery. Lin Yi knew that they wouldn't say it, but it didn't matter if they didn't. Lin Yi knew who sent them, he didn't need to prove anything. However, at this moment, when Lin Yi was about to say something, there was a sudden sound of hurried footsteps coming from the side door of the living room. It was the Grand Elder, with Elder Su's help, coming to the living room. As soon as the Grand Elder entered, he saw Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and the robbers standing opposite each other in the living room. He thought that they were about to start a fight, and he jumped in fright. Heroes, let's talk this out, I'm late? The Grand Elder didn't understand the situation, thinking that the Dark Palace was still a weak group. Seeing the blood on the floor, he thought that one of the disciples was injured, so he lowered his stance and spoke in a flattering tone. He had no choice. He had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. This was the Grand Elder's principle. Where there's life, there's hope. If the Dark Palace was destroyed, then everything would be destroyed. Even if there was a glimmer of hope, he had to fight for it. Heroes, don't you want the Dark Palace's territory? All right, I'll have all my disciples withdraw from this place today. I'll hand over this place to you heroes to establish your own sects. The Great Elder continued. Jie? Little 4 and little 5 were a little confused. What was this Grand Elder doing here again? Could it be that she saw someone backing her up, so she deliberately came over to act cool? That must be it. With the current situation, how would little 4 and little 5 dare to ask for Dark Palace's territory? Wasn't that courting death? As soon as they moved in, they were all killed by Lin. Anyone with a brain wouldn't do such a suicidal thing. Therefore, in the eyes of little 4 and little 5, the Great Elder was a typical example of a pretentious old man. However, even though they knew that the Great Elder was pretending to be pretentious, they didn't dare to complain. Didn't they see that Lin Yi was still standing there like a tiger eyeing its prey? Could it be that they really didn't want to live anymore, daring to go against Lin Yi head-on? So, although little 4's expression was a little ugly, he still carefully said in a pleasant tone, Great Elder. We brothers had eyes but didn't recognize MT Tai. We didn't know that the Dark Palace has such a strong backing now. Please don't make fun of us. Yeah, Palace Master Chu, we didn't know that your boyfriend was so strong. If we knew, we wouldn't dare to do anything even if you gave us 100 guts. We were wrong. We'll leave now. Little 5 said in fear. Yes, we'll leave now. Little 4 said as he prepared to collect little 3's corpse on the ground. At this time, the Great Elder suddenly realized that the dead person on the ground wasn't some disciple of the Dark Palace. It was the person who injured him with one palm. Although his face was masked, his figure was still fresh in the Great Elder's memory. Wasn't this person the leader? How did he die? Wait, could it be that Lin Yi killed him? Otherwise, why would these people smile and be so careful? The Grand Elder was dumbfounded at the thought, how did Lin Yi really have the ability to do this? Not only did he subdue these people, he even killed the leader of the robbers? One had to know that the robber was a peak late phase heaven class master. Did I let you leave? Before the Great Elder could recover from the shock, Lin Yi's cold voice rang out again. This caused the heart of little 4, who was collecting little 3's corpse, to suddenly tremble. His hands also stopped moving, not daring to continue. Raising his head, he carefully said with a smile, "Young hero. That's senior, we know we were wrong." "What do you mean? You think this is your home?" Lin Yi looked at Little Four and said indifferently, "Do you think there's such a good thing in this world? Are you going back and forth through the city gate?" "Senior, then what do you think we should do?" Little Four was speechless. It seemed that Lin Yi was someone with real strength and confidence, and he wasn't just showing off. Now, he was a little regretful. Why didn't he investigate clearly before coming? However, how could Little Four know something that even Patriarch Xianxia and Kang Mingming didn't know? "How about this? Since you admit your mistakes, you can be spared from death, but you can't escape punishment. Both of you, stand out and let me hit each of you once. Then we'll forget about this matter." Lin Yi looked at Little Four and Little Five and said slowly. At this moment, Lin Yi had already recovered his physical strength and true qi. Moreover, he had recovered to his peak state. Lin Yi did this not just to punish them, but also to intimidate them. He wanted Patriarch Xianxia to know that Lin Yi was very powerful now and could attack continuously. He could casually kill and injure a peak late phase heaven-class master. "Senior, we don't want to die." Little Four's face darkened. "If we just stood there and let you hit us once, would it be good? Wouldn't we be directly beaten to death by you?" "I can guarantee that I won't beat you to death. I will be merciful and just punish you." Lin Yi looked at the two of them. Although he sneered on the surface, he was smiling bitterly in his heart. "It would be difficult for me to kill the two of you. Under the premise that you are on guard, it is not realistic to want to kill you." "Really?" Little Four looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. "Do you have the capital to bargain with me?" Lin Yi said very coldly, "If you don't want to accept punishment, then stay here." Chapter 3307. If Lin Yi really wanted to kill them, then so be it. What else could they do to resist? Thinking of this, Little Four and Little Five could only compromise. The two of them walked to the living room, trembling with fear. They closed their eyes and began to circulate their true qi to protect their bodies. Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm, 11th form. Lin Yi once again used the Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm on Little Four's chest. Boom! Under Lin Yi's attack, Little Four's entire body flew out quickly and landed heavily on the wall behind the living room. With a loud bang, the wall cracked in several places. However, after vomiting a few mouthfuls of blood, he realized that he was still alive and immediately heaved a sigh of relief. However, this situation did not last long. Little Four wanted to circulate his heart sutra to heal himself, but he was shocked to find that most of the meridians in his body had been broken. In other words, he was now a cripple. Unless he had a top-grade 4th-grade Great Recover pill, he would become a cripple like Tagunlong. At this time, Lin Yi attacked again. Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm, 10th form. Lin Yi's remaining true qi was not enough to activate the 11th form of the Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm. However, it was still more than enough to activate the 10th form. This 10th form also happened to trigger the attack bonus of the Essence Necklace. Boom! Under Lin Yi's attack, Little Five also followed in Little Four's footsteps. His entire body flew out and landed heavily on the wall that Little Four had hit before. This time, there was another loud bang. This time, it directly smashed a big hole in the already broken wall of the living room. With the attack bonus of the Essence Necklace, the power of the 10th form of the Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm and the 11th form of the Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm without the attack bonus were actually not much different. Therefore, in the eyes of these two people, Lin Yi had activated the same move. There was no difference. Xiaowu also spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His meridians were all broken, but he did not die, nor did he faint. This was the benefit of their true qi protection. Otherwise, they would not have died, but they would definitely be in a vegetative state like Tagunlong. One had to know that even if the 11th move of the Frenzied Fire 8 Trigrams Palm was not enhanced in terms of attack, its power was still very shocking. "Alright, take them and leave." Lin Yi ordered the lackeys brought by Little 3, Little 4 and Little 5. Lin Yi wasn't interested in dealing with these people, and he needed them to bring these 3 people back. Senior. The 5 Elements sect's disciples at the door were already scared out of their wits. Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5 were second only to Little 1 and Little 2, the 2 5 Elements sect's peak late phase senior brothers. But they were beaten to death and heavily injured just like that. It was not difficult at all. How powerful was this? They didn't dare to stay or ask any more questions. They all walked in and quickly carried Little 3's corpse. Together with the 2 crippled Little 4 and Little 5, they left the Dark Palace's guest hall dejectedly. They ran as fast as they could, without stopping at all. Phew! Lin Yi let out a long breath. These 2 moves of the Raging Fire 8 Trigram Palm had already used up all the true qi in Lin Yi's body. If these disciples attacked together, Lin Yi would really be in trouble. After all, the Supreme Elder who was a peak late phase Heaven Stage Master was seriously injured and could not fight. The other disciples and elders of the Dark Palace were not strong. They had no confidence in winning against those lackeys. Although the possibility of those lackeys daring to do anything was almost zero, it was still a relief to see them leave. The young hero Lin. The Supreme Elder was completely shocked. So, Lin Yi was not the kind of rogue cultivator who only knew how to boast and spread rumors. He was a real master. These 3 peak late phase Heaven Stage bandits, how mighty and powerful were they? But in front of Lin Yi, they were either dead or injured. There was no room for negotiation at all. It seemed like her previous strategy was wrong. She had to build a good relationship with Lin Yi in the future. Lin Yi looked at the Supreme Elder faintly. Back in the villa, Lin Yi was no match for the Supreme Elder, but now, Lin Yi didn't care about her at all. Lin Yi didn't have a good impression of a snobbish person like her, but for Mingyao's sake and the Supreme Elder's face, Lin Yi didn't do anything too extreme. He only said coldly, "I'm tired, Yao Yao. Get me a room, I need to rest." But Meng Yao, naturally, knew what was going on with Lin Yi. Lin Yi must have used up all the true qi in his body, so he needed to find a place to recover. She said to the disciple beside her without hesitation, "Go get a room, I'll bring Lin Yi there." "Yes, Palace Master." The disciple respected Lin Yi a lot. Lin Yi's one move had saved the Palace of Darkness from a disaster. Back then, the disciples of the Palace of Darkness had been living in fear, afraid that the bandits would come and they wouldn't have a place to stay. Those people had taken over the Palace of Darkness, and they would chase the original people out. But now, Lin Yi had saved the Palace of Darkness, saving their fates. They were filled with gratitude towards Lin. The Supreme Elder wasn't angry at being ignored by Lin. Instead, she laughed. "That's right, Yao Yao. Bring young hero Lin to rest. He's your husband, don't neglect him. You may be the Palace Master, but you have to listen to your husband." Meng Yao looked at the Grand Elder, flabbergasted. She didn't understand what the Grand Elder was saying. Why was he saying that? What did he mean by, "he's your husband"? She and Lin Yi were just boyfriend and girlfriend. Plus, didn't the Supreme Elder never support her being with Lin Yi? From boyfriend to husband just like that? But after a moment of shock, Meng Yao understood what the Supreme Elder meant. The Supreme Elder saw how strong Lin Yi was and wanted to get closer to Lin Yi. Chapter 3308. Meng Yao was speechless. This Grand Elder. Why was he acting like a matchmaker? The words sent a chill down Meng Yao's spine. She used to look down on Lin Yi for being a freelancer, but now, Lin Yi looked at the Grand Elder coldly. To be honest, he didn't like the Grand Elder's attitude at all. She was the epitome of someone who swayed with the wind. But Lin Yi didn't say anything and walked out of the lounge. The Grand Elder didn't dare say anything after that cold stare from Lin. With Elder Chui's support, he followed behind carefully. The disciple from before had already prepared the guest room, and Lin Yi stayed there for the time being. Activating the skill just now had exhausted all of Lin Yi's energy, so Lin Yi needed some rest. Meng Yao didn't bother Lin Yi anymore. She turned around to deal with the rest of the matters in the Palace of Darkness. She wanted to call for a palace meeting to appease the disciples. After all, what happened before had given them a lot of pressure. Meng Yao turned around and saw the Grand Elder running towards her. She paused. "Grand Elder, you're injured. What are you running for?" Meng Yao didn't like the Grand Elder's swaying personality, But the Grand Elder had acknowledged Lin. She didn't need to look at the Grand Elder's face when contacting Lin Yi in the future. Yao Yao, is young Master Lin resting? The Grand Elder asked carefully. Yes, he rushed here last night and then faced such a fierce battle. Of course he's tired and needs to rest. Meng Yao, naturally, wouldn't say that Lin Yi had used up all of his energy. Instead, she made it sound like he had rushed here last night. Oh. Grand Elder didn't ask much, she was just asking casually, her real purpose wasn't this. Yao Yao, you see, when are you going to hold your engagement ceremony with young hero Lin? Why would I hold an engagement ceremony? Since when did I have an engagement ceremony? Meng Yao looked at the Grand Elder, stunned. Yao Yao, it's not that I want to criticize you, but the Grand Elder is also an experienced person. I've long felt that this Lin Yi isn't a normal person, but a super master. So, Yao Yao, a person like this must have a lot of pursuers. For example, that Yu Shu in your family, Su Shirhan, people like that, they must like Lin Yi too. So, you must hurry up, you must get young hero Lin first, confirm your relationship, don't let others take him away. What the hell are you talking about? Meng Yao was speechless from the Grand Elder's words. What do you mean you've long known that Lin Yi isn't immortal? Didn't you say that he was a rogue cultivator? You even told me to cut off all ties with him, and now you want to get engaged? Do you have to be so shameless? Yao Yao, don't think that I'm annoying, I'm just telling the truth. The Grand Elder sighed. You must think that I'm someone who changes my words according to the wind, that I'm trying to suck up to Lin Yi just because he's strong, right? Meng Yao didn't reply, but her silence meant that she agreed with the Grand Elder's words. Indeed, that was what Meng Yao was thinking. She said bad things about Lin Yi before, and now that Lin Yi had revealed his strength, he wanted her to get engaged to Lin. Yao Yao, I'm already injured, and I can't break through to the level of perfection. This injury isn't very likely to heal, so I don't think I'll live much longer. The Palace of Darkness will continue to flourish in your hands. The Great Elder didn't care at all and continued, my whole life, all I want is for the Palace of Darkness to become a first-class sect in the ancient times. Face, vanity, those are all fake. You may think I'm shameless, but I want to say that I'm just like that. As long as the Palace of Darkness is good, you can insult me or even kill me, it's all fine, it doesn't matter. So, Yao Yao, this is also a request of mine. You must capture Lin Yi, this is the chance for our Palace of Darkness to soar. Meng Yao was filled with emotions as she listened to the Grand Elder's heartfelt words. Yes, she did look down on the Grand Elder before, thinking that she was someone who changed her ways according to the wind. She scolded Lin Yi one moment, and now she's trying to get on Lin Yi's good side. Shameless to the extreme. Chapter 3309. Grand Elder, go rest. We'll go find you when Lin Yi's done resting. Meng Yao sighed as she spoke to the Grand Elder. Okay, then I'll wait quietly in the room for young hero Lin to come and heal me. The Supreme Elder turned around and left with a smile. A smile appeared on Meng Yao's lips as she watched the Grand Elder leave. At this moment, she had finally become the Palace Master of the Dark Palace, truly in control of the palace. From now on, even the Grand Elder would have to listen to her. Mom, your daughter did it, with Lin Yi's help. Are you happy? In actuality, Meng Yao's control of the Palace of Darkness had always been because she wanted to clear her mother's name. In the future, when Yi won, or came back to the Palace of Darkness, who would dare to go against her? Come in, Yao Yao. Lin Yi's voice sounded in the room, pulling Meng Yao back from her thoughts. She quickly pushed the door open and entered Lin Yi's room. Lin Yi, you recovered your qi? Meng Yao was a bit surprised. Lin Yi recovered in such a short time? Not yet, but it's fine now. Let's talk, Lin Yi said. Okay. Meng Yao nodded and sat beside Lin. Yao Yao, finally, is there any news about that Sky-class island plan? Lin Yi was most concerned about the future inheritor's Sky-class island plan. This had been linked to Lin Yi's fate since the moment Xiao Xiao stayed in the Ice Palace. But what pissed Lin Yi off the most was that the mastermind of this was Elder Xianxia, his archenemy. Not yet. Meng Yao shook her head. Dark Palace and Five Elements sect don't have a good relationship. We'll have to wait for the Sky class meeting in the future to find out the details. I understand, I'll go to this meeting, Lin nodded. As Meng Yao and Lin Yi were chatting, Kong Ming was in Elder Xuanzhen's room. The two were imagining the tragedy in Dark Palace when footsteps came from the door. Kong Ming guessed that the people he sent out were back. They should be back by now. Elder, it should be San, Si, and Wu. Kong Ming stood up. I'll go open the door. All right, Elder Xianxia nodded. However, when Kong Xiaoming opened the door, the person standing outside wasn't Xiao San and the others, but the person in charge of guarding the Soul Jade Tablet of 5-Element School. Patriarch Xianxia, this is bad. Third senior brother's Soul Jade card has shattered. The disciple held up a broken Soul Jade card and said anxiously, "What?" Elder Xianxia stood up and stared at the Soul Jade in the disciple's hand. His eyes widened, filled with disbelief and shock. How could it be? Could little San have been killed? Otherwise, why would his Soul Jade plate shatter into pieces? What about the others? Elder Xianxia asked. What about Si and Wu? Fourth senior brother and fifth senior brother's Soul Jade tablets are fine. The disciple replied carefully. Elder Xianxia breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that only San died, and Si and Wu were fine. That was good, as long as they weren't all wiped out. Could it be that the blood-clothed underworld sect made a move? Elder Xianxia frowned. The development of the matter made him very angry. The blood-clothed underworld sect actually intervened again. It seemed that if he didn't show up, the blood-clothed underworld sect wouldn't know how high the sky was. But it was no wonder that Elder Xianxia thought that San was killed by the blood-clothed underworld sect. In his opinion, San was an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. In the Dark Night Palace, no one could do anything to him, let alone Lin. Then, the only one who made a move was the blood-clothed underworld sect. Just as Patriarch Xianxia was guessing, the disciples of the 5-Element sect brought Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5 to Patriarch Xuanzhen's room. Seeing that the door wasn't closed, these disciples couldn't be bothered anymore. They rushed in and immediately reported to Patriarch Xianxia. You guys are... Elder Xianxia looked at these people who came in. Elder Xianxia wasn't surprised to see San's body being carried by a disciple. The Soul Jade tablet was broken, so San definitely had no chance of survival. However, Si and Wu were also carried back by someone. This made Elder Xuanzhen's heart skip a beat. Master, fifth junior brother and I are crippled, Si said with a gloomy face. He knew his injuries and knew that even with his master's ability, he couldn't save them. They could only be cripples for the rest of their lives. What? Damn blood-clothed underworld sect, this old man isn't finished with you. Elder Xianxia went berserk on the spot. He knew that Si would never speak nonsense. If he said they were crippled, then they were really crippled. There was no hope of recovery. Otherwise, it would only be called an injury, not a cripple. Blood-clothed underworld sect? Si was stunned. Why did the blood-clothed underworld sect come to this again? What did this have to do with the blood-clothed underworld sect? Not even a shadow of the blood-clothed underworld sect appeared. What happened today wasn't done by the blood-clothed underworld sect. Seeing the shocked expression on Si's face, Elder Xianxia immediately realized that things might not be as he imagined. Master, the one who made a move today was Lin Yi. Si said hatefully. That Lin Yi's strength doesn't exist. He killed third senior brother in one move and crippled me and fifth junior brother in 2 moves. What do you mean by being chased overseas like a stray dog? That's just bullshit. Lin Yi is amazing. With his strength, I don't think he's any worse than Master. What? A haze flashed on Elder Xuanzhen's face. He Luo actually dared to deceive him? Although Elder Xianxia didn't believe that he Luo dared to deceive him, it was impossible for his disciples to lie. The facts were right in front of him. 3 of his disciples were beaten up by Lin Yi, 1 dead and 2 crippled. How could this say that Lin Yi didn't have strength? Lin Yi is now a peak late-stage heaven realm expert with great perfection strength? No, he's only mid-stage heaven realm. Little Wu said with certainty. I've checked several times. Moreover, from the strength he displayed when using the mantra, he's only mid-stage heaven realm. However, The martial skills he used are definitely at the great perfection level. Chapter 3310. This was also in line with the rumors about Lin Yi in the past, which was that he killed high-level cultivators in seconds as a low-level cultivator. Could it be that Lin Yi was hiding something when he was overseas? Patriarch Xianxia frowned. It seemed that he had made a bad move. He guessed that those who went to find trouble with the blood-clothed Yellow Spring sect must have found out some inside information. Otherwise, it was no wonder that these people didn't go after Lin Yi for so long. They didn't dare to do so. He had foolishly sent people to the Dark Night Palace, but the result was that they were either dead or crippled, and there was no way to avenge his disciple. In that case, Lin Yi still has the ability to kill high-level cultivators in seconds? Patriarch Xianxia frowned and asked. Yes, master. Little 4 was a little sad. My injuries and little 5's, go and rest first. I'll think of something. Patriarch Xianxia gestured for little 4 and little 5 to be at ease. In fact, he was just saying it. If he had a way, Tagun Long would have been cured long ago, and he wouldn't have to become enemies with Lin Yi. Not only was little 11 injured by Lin Yi, but little 1's divine weapon was also taken away by Lin. Yes, master. Although they knew that the chances of recovery weren't high, they still had hope that Patriarch Xiantian would be able to think of a solution. Patriarch Xuantian's injuries were the same, and he hadn't recovered, let alone the two of them. After little 4 and little 5 left, Patriarch Xianxia sighed. Xiaoming, what do you think about this? Father-in-law, it seems that the Overseas Cultivators Association wants to trick us. Isn't this a false report? We have suffered heavy losses. We can't let them go. Kong Mingming knew that he had no way to deal with Lin Yi, so he directly targeted the Overseas Cultivators Association. He needed someone to vent his anger on, right? Xiaoming, you don't know my relationship with He Luonan. He probably wouldn't lie to me. After calming down, Patriarch Xianxia felt that He Luo had no reason to lie to him. After all, the two of them were brothers and there was no conflict between them. Kong Mingming was stunned. Helan's surname was He, and so was Patriarch Xianxia. Kong Mingming knew this. Although he didn't know Patriarch Xuanqian's real name, he knew 11's real name, He Meiqi. Therefore, he guessed that Patriarch Xianxia and He Luonan, the president of the Overseas Cultivators Association, were related. While others address me as Old Ancestor Xianxia, my actual name is He Haiyang. Patriarch Xianxia smiled and said, this name is rather unique, so I usually don't tell others. Kong Mingming didn't know what to say after hearing Patriarch Xuanqian's name. Nuclear submarine, nuclear warhead. Could they be brothers? It seemed very possible. He Luonan is my younger brother, my biological brother, so he wouldn't lie to me. Something must have gone wrong. Patriarch Xianxia waved his hand and said, perhaps, overseas, Lin Yi wasn't acclimatized and couldn't display his strength? Sure enough. But about Lin, I don't know. What you said is also possible. Kong Mingming thought about it and said, I vaguely heard before that Lin Yi had to pay a certain price to instantly kill high-level masters. I'm afraid that when he was overseas, he lacked some necessary conditions. What you said makes sense. Patriarch Xianxia nodded and said, I'll call He Luonan first and ask. After Patriarch Xianxia finished speaking, he didn't hide from Kong Mingming and directly dialed He Luonan's number. Luonan, how are your injuries? Patriarch Xianxia asked after picking up the phone. Big brother, my injuries are fine. Although I and the Red Conch people were both injured, the injuries weren't particularly serious. I can recover. He Luonan said, Big brother, you called me about Lin. Is there any news? Luonan, there is news about Lin. My move also forced Lin Yi out, but the result was completely different. Patriarch Xianxia sighed and told He Luonan what happened. What? Lin Yi is so powerful? Can he really kill a peak late-stage heaven stage master? He Luonan was shocked. But why did he run away when he was overseas? Why is that? I don't know about that. I'm just calling you to ask if there's anything wrong with Lin Yi overseas, right? For example, is there an injury or some other reason? Patriarch Xianxia said, Luonan, think about it carefully. Is there anything special? I believe. He Luonan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Waves of lingering fear surged out. If there was no problem with Lin Yi, then He Tianzu would have been killed. Even when He Luonan and the Red Conch general manager were both injured, Lin Yi could have killed both of them. However, Lin Yi didn't do so. This meant that Lin Yi had a special reason for not doing so. What was it? Suddenly, He Luonan thought of something and quickly said, "Big brother, I remember. Before, when Lin Yi was overseas, he wasn't at the mid-stage of heaven stage, but at the peak early stage of heaven stage. And you just said that Lin Yi is now at the mid-stage of heaven stage. He must have broken through during this time, so I have a guess." "What guess?" Patriarch Xianxia asked quickly. "Is it because when Lin Yi was overseas, he was already on the verge of breaking through, so he didn't dare to overdraw his physical strength to activate those big moves? He was afraid that it would affect his breakthrough. So when Lin Yi was chased by us, we don't know where he hid in seclusion to level up. Now, Lin Yi has successfully broken through, so when he went back, he dared to release his big moves. As for what you said about not being able to adapt to the climate overseas, I don't think it's possible. After all, it's a bit ridiculous." He Luonan analyzed. "What you said seems to make sense." After Patriarch Xianxia listened, he nodded in agreement. Generally, before a breakthrough, most cultivators would choose to go into seclusion to attack. They didn't dare to consume their qi to activate a big move, and Lin Yi obviously belonged to this category. "AI, big brother, then I'm lucky that I didn't chase after him. Otherwise, if I forced Lin Yi, it's very likely that Tianzu would be finished." He Luonan said with lingering fear. Chapter 33:11. "Okay, big brother." Even if Patriarch Xianxia didn't say anything, He Luonan didn't intend to cause trouble for Lin. After all, he didn't think that the Overseas Cultivators Association was Lin Yi's opponent. Wouldn't he be courting death if he went there? After hanging up the phone, Patriarch Xianxia looked at Kong Mingming and said, "You heard it too. We might have guessed wrong. The Blood Underworld sect was just a smokescreen released by Lin. Maybe before he went overseas, Lin Yi had signs of breaking through, so he didn't want to use martial arts to waste his physical strength and true qi, so he hired the Blood Underworld sect as a thug. But in fact, Lin Yi still has the ability to kill high-level cultivators in seconds." After listening, Kong Mingming nodded, and a hint of unwillingness flashed across his face. "Father-in-law, I think Lin Yi can't be left alive anymore. He can kill experts at the peak of the late stage of heaven stage in seconds now. In the future, won't he be able to kill you too? At that time, who in the entire cultivation world can be Lin Yi's opponent? Won't Lin Yi be able to kill whoever he wants, and no one can stop him?" "That's right." Patriarch Xianxia also nodded with a solemn expression. "It's time to get rid of Lin Yi. Otherwise, he will definitely become a big problem in the future. Father-in-law, how about I start preparing the extreme qi-gathering pill? With Lin Yi's current strength, he's still interested in this thing. If Lin Yi's strength is higher, he won't need this pill at all. We won't be able to find a suitable way to kill him." Kong Mingming suggested. "Okay, then you start preparing to refine it. It seems that this is the only way. Even if we offend Boss Bai, we have to get rid of Lin. Otherwise, Lin Yi will really become a big problem." Patriarch Xianxia pondered for a moment, then nodded and said resolutely, "Sir, I will prepare the materials now." Kong Mingming was very happy. Patriarch Xianxia finally agreed to use this ultimate move to kill Lin Yi. This time, Lin ate the ultimate qi-gathering pill. Let's see if he would die or not. "Oh right, you have to keep the matter of Little San and the others a secret. Don't tell anyone." Patriarch Xianxia reminded, "If Boss Bai knows that we've started to target Lin Yi, it won't be good to give the pill to Lin." "I understand." Kong Mingming nodded. By now, Lin Yi had recovered his strength. He asked Meng Yao to call the Grand Elder to his room. "Young hero Lin, you called for me?" The Great Elder appeared in front of Lin Yi respectfully, as respectful as he could be. "Grand Elder, there's no time to lose. Since Yao Yao said so, then I'll heal you," Lin Yi said faintly. "Ha, then this old one thanks young hero Lin. But, you're Yao Yao's husband, so you're part of the Palace of Darkness. I won't say those polite words. I'm also one of Yao Yao's soldiers." If I recover my strength, it'll be good for the Palace of Darkness. The Great Elder became Ming Yao's subordinate in the blink of an eye. It made Lin Yi speechless. Grand Elder, let's not talk about that. Everyone knows who you were before, and what my relationship with the Palace of Darkness is. If it wasn't for Yao Yao, I wouldn't have done anything. Lin Yi waved his hand, ignoring the Elder's compliment. He didn't mind the Great Elder's compliments at all. Okay. The Great Elder smiled awkwardly. Young hero Lin, what do you need me to do now? You don't need to do anything, just wait. With that, Lin Yi reached out and grabbed the Great Elder's wrist. He started channeling the third stage of the art of dragon mastery and started healing the Great Elder. Lin Yi was getting more and more familiar with the third stage of the art of dragon mastery. It greatly shortened the healing time for Lin Yi. The Great Elder's injury was nothing to Lin Yi. This level of injury was something that could be healed in an hour or so. However, as Lin Yi channeled the chant, Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised to find that the third stage of the art of dragon mastery was showing signs of completion. Could it be that the third stage was about to break through? If that was the case, Lin Yi could go to West Star Village again and open the fourth stone door. What would be inside? Lin Yi was looking forward to it. Previously, the art of dragon mastery didn't show any signs of a breakthrough. Just when Lin Yi was about to give up, it was actually about to break through. Could it be related to the breakthrough of his strength level? Lin Yi could only attribute it to this. Because the improvement of Lin Yi's strength level also meant that Lin Yi's body could hold more qi. Was it because of this that the art of dragon mastery was about to break through? This discovery made Lin Yi's heart suddenly happy. He didn't expect to treat the Great Elder's injury. Sometimes, doing good deeds could actually lead to unexpected gains. Lin Yi didn't expect that the previous period of being a fugitive would be exchanged for good things. Not only did his strength increase, but his art of dragon mastery was also about to reach the third stage of completion. After quickly treating the Great Elder's injury, Lin Yi also planned to break through his own mantra here. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't really cultivate in the space of the Jade Pendant during this period of time. There were too many things to do, and Lin Yi's strength level also relied on elixirs to increase, so he neglected the most basic method of leveling up. Since the mantra showed signs of a breakthrough, then Lin Yi definitely wouldn't let it go this time. The news of the ancient times spread especially fast. Even if Elder Xianxia and Kang Ming kept quiet, but the scene that happened in the Dark Palace was seen by many disciples. These people couldn't be asked to keep it a secret, and in fact, Lin Yi didn't need them to keep it a secret. Lin Yi wanted to use these people's mouths to spread his strength. So, within a few days, the people of the ancient times knew that Lin Yi had returned and showed his power in the Dark Palace. He killed a peak late-stage Heaven-class master and injured 2 peak late-stage Heaven-class masters. Chapter 33:12. Who didn't know about the close relationship between Dark Palace's palace master Chu Mengyao and Lin Yi? As a result, there was nothing wrong with Mengyao helping Lin Yi with this. Of course, the ones who were the most shocked were the 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect. They were having a headache. After Lin Yi came back, should they continue to help? Although Lin Dongfang supported them, they couldn't explain to Lin. Lin Dongfang didn't let the ancestors tell Lin Yi about the matter, so they really didn't have an excuse to help Lin. Just as they were worrying, they suddenly heard a shocking news. Lin Yi actually killed a peak late-phase Heaven-class master in a second and injured 2 peak late-phase Heaven-class masters? Was this possible? The 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect had the same thought as others because they were the ones who truly understood Lin Yi's strength. Hence, they immediately called Lin. Mr. Lin Yi, I'm the blood-clothed underworld sect's Insen ancestor. Insen ancestor said directly after picking up the phone. These few days, there's a rumor circulating in the ancient world. It said that you killed a peak late-phase Heaven-class master in a second and injured 2 peak late-phase Heaven-class masters? Is this true or not? It's true. Lin Yi didn't hide it. After all, the blood-clothed underworld sect had always shown enough goodwill. There was no need for Lin Yi to lie to them. Moreover, Lin Yi also wanted to spread this news. Mr. Lin Yi, you are so powerful now? Old ancestor Insen was shocked after hearing this and asked with some surprise. It's like this. My strength level has increased again. I'm now a mid-phase heaven-class master. And with this strength, I can use a secret technique to kill peak late-phase heaven-class masters. Lin Yi said. I see. When Ancestor Eerie Woods heard Lin Yi personally confirm it, he heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that it was impossible for Lin Yi to speak nonsense. Since Lin Yi had said that, it meant that he was very confident. Thinking up to this point, Eerie Forest Patriarch said, "Oh right, when you were not around, the Black Dragon Sect's master was not around. The Dongfang clan, the Everyday and Everyday Sun sect, and the Black Horse Society came together to look for me. They found out that we were the ones who killed those people, but they thought that you were the one who hired us. Did they cause any trouble for you?" Lin Yi was a little apologetic, even though Bloodcloak was doing it for a mission. But in the end, they still helped him. If he hadn't spread the news that these people were killed by him, it wouldn't have been easy for them to investigate the blood-clothed underworld sect. It's been settled. However, we have to keep a low profile for now. Ancestor Eerie Woods said, "However, I'm afraid that they will find trouble with us." To find trouble with you? I know, it doesn't matter. Thank you for the reminder. Lin Yi said. Alright, that's it for now. Ancestor Eerie Forest couldn't say too much. After all, there were some relationships that Lin Yi didn't know, so they couldn't say it. However, to Lin Yi's surprise, the Dongfang clan was also fine. The Everyday and Everyday Sun sect and the Black Horse Society chose to be silent for the time being. They didn't come to find trouble with Lin Yi because they really couldn't figure out Lin Yi's path. Lin Yi's back? And he killed a peak late-stage heaven rank expert in seconds? Even if many people held a skeptical attitude, this time, no one was stupid. When they went to find trouble with the blood-clothed underworld sect, they still had lingering fears. Now that Lin Yi was back, they really didn't dare to find trouble with him. What if Lin Yi really had the strength to kill a peak late-stage heaven rank expert in seconds? Could he kill a great perfection expert in seconds? All of these were unknown, so these people all kept silent at the same time. These days, the second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron that Lu Jinghan made had also been completed and was sent to the Cultivator Trade Association for auction. However, this time, Kong Ming wasn't worried. Because second-grade medicinal cauldrons could only be made by the Heavenly Elixir sect. Therefore, no matter how well Lin Yi's medicinal cauldron sold, the raw materials couldn't bypass Kong Ming. As long as Kong Ming didn't agree, then they wouldn't have the raw materials. Therefore, Kong Ming was prepared to make a profit from the raw materials. He didn't need to worry that it would affect his business. After all, the demand for first-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons was different. Compared to a first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron, anyone with a fire attribute physique could become a first-grade alchemist after training and learning to control a first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. The operating conditions for a second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron were slightly harsher. First of all, those half-baked alchemists lacked a wood attribute physique in their bodies. It was very difficult to upgrade to a second-grade alchemist. They weren't Han Jingjing, nor did they have the help of Lin. The possibility of upgrading to a second-grade alchemist was almost zero. Therefore, the target of this second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron was those real alchemists. This alchemist could be someone who had just stepped into the second grade from the first grade, or a mature second-grade alchemist. In any case, as long as they were second-grade alchemists, they could use a second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. However, the demand would be a little less. These 30 second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons basically covered the needs of these alchemists. Even if it wasn't enough, it wouldn't be much. This was a deviation from Kong Ming's expectations. After all, Kong Ming had never seen the finished products of these second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons. He had only heard rumors about how powerful they were and what kind of elixirs they could refine. Therefore, from his point of view, this second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron should be the same as a first-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. Any alchemist could use it. The sales should not be low. Therefore, in order to make a profit, Kong Ming had stopped the supply of second-grade cauldrons in the market the moment Right Coiling Tiger's second-grade cauldron was given to Lin. His goal was to hoard them and sell them to Lin Yi at a high price. Moreover, Kong Ming was afraid that the supply would not be able to meet the demand and he wouldn't be able to make money. Therefore, he made preparations in advance to produce a batch of second-grade cauldrons and sell them to Lin Yi at a high price. Xiaoming, your idea isn't bad. Ancestor Xianxia nodded in agreement. We want to kill Lin Yi, but before Lin Yi dies, we have to squeeze out all his remaining value. With this second-grade cauldron, we can make a fortune. Chapter 33:13. These two people were not suited for business. One was focused on research, cultivation, and matters related to inheritance, while the other was a crooked businessman. Therefore, the two of them only blindly followed the trend and did not know how to predict the market. They spent a lot of effort to get the technical plan of the first-grade automatic medical cauldron, but the sales were getting lower and lower. Just like the Kong family in the past, they only relied on a monopoly to make a fortune. Once the market was impacted, they would suffer losses. Now, Kong Ming was the same. In terms of crafty ideas, Lu Jinghan might not be his opponent, but in business, even 10 Kong Ming's would not be enough. Therefore, after the two of them saw the predicament, they turned their attention to the second-grade automatic medical cauldron that had not yet been put on sale. They hoped to make a fortune through the supply of raw materials for the second-grade automatic medical cauldron. However, they had never thought about how big the market for the second-grade automatic medical cauldron was. Or rather, they had misunderstood. They thought that the second-grade automatic medical cauldron was the same as the first-grade automatic medical cauldron. The threshold for using it was very low, and anyone could use it. Therefore, there would definitely be a sales frenzy. Then, should we use the money we earned from the first-grade intelligent medical cauldron to mass-produce the second-grade cauldron? Kong Ming asked. Yes, when the time comes, the production of the second-grade automatic medical cauldron will not be able to bypass our raw materials. Patriarch Xianxia nodded and said, since we can't make money from the production and sale of the second-grade automatic medical cauldron, we must seize the raw materials market. Who said we can't sell? Kong Ming waved his hand and said proudly, Father-in-law, we are raw materials suppliers. When the time comes, we can use this as a bargaining chip to negotiate with Lin. The second-grade automatic medical cauldron produced by Lin Yi must be given to us to sell, and the price must be low. This way, we can directly label it as our Heavenly Elixir Sex second-grade intelligent medical cauldron and sell it. Our customers won't think that we don't have follow-up products and technical support. That's a good idea. Speaking of which, Xiaoming, you're a business genius. After Patriarch Xianxia heard that, he immediately felt that it made sense. However, he did not come into contact with businesses in the secular world, so he did not know that this kind of labeling was the most common business method. It did not require any business acumen at all. The market could be seen everywhere, but when it came to Kong Ming, he became a business genius. It's just a small trick. Although Kong Ming said so, he looked very proud. You're in charge of following up on this matter. Then, you have to hurry up with the matter of the extreme qi gathering pill. Get it and kill that brat Lin. Patriarch Xianxia said. Don't worry, father-in-law. Kong Ming nodded. However, what Kong Ming did not expect was that he had made hundreds of second-grade medicine cauldrons, but neither Lin Yi nor Lu Jinghan had shown any intention to buy second-grade medicine cauldrons. Seeing that the Cultivator Trading Association's second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons had begun to be auctioned, and the number was getting lesser and lesser. The sects that bought them were very favorable, but Lu Jinghan did not show any intention to buy more medicine cauldrons. It must be known that Kong Ming was very clear that Lu Jinghan only had 30 second-grade medicine cauldrons provided by Right Coiling Tiger. She did not have any more. Seeing that they were about to be sold out, why was there no news at all? Could it be that she deliberately kept a low profile, and the purpose was to prevent him from raising the price? However, when there were only 10 second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons left, neither Lin Yi nor Lu Jinghan took the initiative to contact him. This made Kong Ming very puzzled. How could this business be done like this? There were only 10 left in the inventory. If they did not replenish the stock, did they not want to do business? Moreover, the production still needed a certain amount of time, right? It was impossible to say that the moment you bought the raw materials, you would immediately produce it. Did you think it was an automated production line? However, the production of second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons needed to be handmade. Father-in-law, what do you think Lin Yi is trying to do? Does he want to make a one-time deal and not sell it in the future? Kong Ming finally could not hold it in anymore and went to find Patriarch Xianxian. Patriarch Xuanqian's grasp of the economy was not as good as Kong Ming, so when he heard Kong Ming's words, he was immediately a little dumbfounded. Zhao Ming, is it very difficult to produce these second-grade automatic medicine cauldrons? Is Lin Yi thinking of not selling them in the future? That shouldn't be the case. Although this thing is difficult to make, it is also a real moneymaker. This money is enough for Lin Yi to build an orphanage. He shouldn't give up. Kong Ming shook his head and said, "Now, I am afraid that Lin Yi will produce his own second-grade medicine cauldrons or buy them from other channels. Then, won't our second-grade medicine cauldrons be unable to be sold? That's impossible." Although the difficulty of creating a second-grade cauldron wasn't that high, as long as one had the strength of a heaven-rank yellow-rank third-level alchemist, they would be able to create it. However, how many heaven-rank yellow-rank third-level alchemists were there? Moreover, many of the materials used to make this second-grade medicine cauldron are exclusively controlled by our heavenly elixir sect. They come from the edge of the Five Evils savage land. Other sects have no channels to get them. Is it Lin Yi or that Han Jingjing? Or Boss Bai? Even if they can make it, do they have a place to get the materials? That's true. Then Lin Yi probably wants to put on airs. Kong Ming had just finished speaking when his phone rang. He glanced at it and saw that it was his big brother, Kong Xiaolong. The hidden house was now wavering because of Lin Yi's strength. They didn't dare to leak information about Lin Yi. However, Kong Xiaolong, who was beside Yupanhu, didn't have this concern. After he received the news, he called Kong Ming immediately. "Big brother, what's the matter?" Kong Ming asked after picking up the phone. "Zhao Ming, listen carefully. Just now, Lin Yi called Yupanhu and asked if they still have any second-grade medicine cauldrons. Lin Yi wants some, but Yupanhu's family doesn't have any left. He can only agree to help him think of a way to get one or two." Kong Xiaolong said. "What?" Kong Ming was worried at first, but suddenly heard the good news. He slapped his thigh and said excitedly, "That's great, that's great. Big brother, this is very important. Don't worry, if there are benefits in the future, you will definitely get them." Chapter 33:14. Alright, after a while, I'll see what Heavenly Elixir sect can do in the secular world. I'll let you do it then. Kong Xiaoming had the confidence to do so. He was the son-in-law of Elder Xianxian. It was a piece of cake for him to get a few projects for House Kong. Plus, Kong Xiaolong had done a great job this time as well. After hanging up, the Xianxian ancestor didn't scold Kong Ming for giving benefits to House Kong on his own. He heard what Xiaolong said on the phone. Lin Yi had started to buy second-grade cauldrons. However, Lin Yi didn't buy from Heavenly Elixir sect or Five Elements sect. Instead, he went to Coiling Tiger. This Lin Yi, he didn't even think about where House Yu's second-grade cauldrons came from. Isn't it from Heavenly Elixir sect? As long as we block the source, no matter how powerful Lin Yi is, no matter how wide his connections are, it's all for naught. The Xianxian ancestor breathed a sigh of relief after hearing the news. Therefore, Elder Xianxian and Kong Xiaoming were reassured. They began to mass-produce and hoard second-grade cauldrons. From their point of view, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to monopolize and make a fortune. How could they let it go? However, when there were only 3 left, the Cultivator Trade Association announced that these were the last 3 cauldrons to be auctioned. From now on, this second-grade cauldron would no longer be sold in the market. These 3 cauldrons would be given as gifts to the Dark Palace. Next, they would introduce a new model of the cauldron, but the new model had technical difficulties that had yet to be overcome. The release date was yet to be determined. In other words, these 32nd-grade cauldrons. They would become an out-of-print product in the market. Those cultivators who originally had a dispensable attitude towards this auction were now shocked and regretting their decision. The reason was very simple. They thought to themselves, After these 30 were auctioned, as the number of cauldrons increased, this thing would definitely get cheaper. So they weren't in a hurry. According to the market of first-grade cauldrons, the Heavenly Elixir sect would definitely introduce imitations. At that time, this thing would be worthless. But who would have thought that this thing would become a rare item, and the last 3 were not auctioned off, but given to the Palace of Darkness? What did that mean? Could it be that they couldn't even buy medicine for regret? Indeed, they couldn't buy it, but the Palace of Darkness didn't need 3 at all. 1 was enough, and the other 2 were just Han Jingjing's gifts to Mengyao. Mengyao was the publicly acknowledged first wife of Lin Yi, so naturally, Han Jingjing would try to please her. The remaining 2 would be up to Mengyao to decide who to sell them to. Not only would this help the Palace of Darkness build connections, but it would also create some income for them. Elder Dark Knight, your Palace of Darkness has been developing well recently. We're both from the ancient level, so we should get to know each other. I'll definitely pay you a visit in the next few days. Elder Dark Knight, I heard that your Palace Master Chu's boyfriend is Hero Lin Yi. He's incomparably brave and can instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven rank expert. We're really envious. Yeah. Elder Dark Knight, your Palace of Darkness not only has an inheritor, but also a master like Lin. It'd be hard for you not to develop. The Grand Elder of the Palace of Darkness was here to represent the Palace of Darkness. She didn't want to come, but Mengyao made her come, so she had to. In fact, Mengyao knew that Han Jingjing would give her 3 second-rank cauldrons, which was why she asked the Grand Elder to go. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come. But what the Grand Elder didn't know was that the Palace of Darkness wasn't rich, and she couldn't afford a second-rank cauldron. Most importantly, the Grand Elder wasn't very sociable. Although, it wasn't that she wasn't sociable. In the ancient level, strength was everything. If you didn't have strength, and the Palace of Darkness was weak, who would want to talk to you? It was good enough to ignore you. It was good enough that they didn't make sarcastic remarks. That was why the Grand Elder was never willing to participate in these masochistic gatherings. Although she once swore in her heart that she would make the Dark Palace stand at a height that others would fight to please in her lifetime, just like the Heavenly Elixir sect. But as she grew older, and as time passed, the Grand Elder's dream never changed, but reality made her understand that it was impossible for the Palace of Darkness to catch up. Palace Master Yi Wan was just a puppet, and she, alone, couldn't change anything. However, all of this changed drastically after Yao became the Palace Lord of the Dark Knight Palace. Of course, the Grand Elder understood that rather than saying that it was Mingyao's change, it was more because she found a good bodyguard, and that person was Lin Yi. The Grand Elder knew the relationship between Mengyao and Lin Yi, but she still insisted on making Lin Yi Mingyao's fiancée, because she saw a bright future for the Palace of Darkness. But, even if the Grand Elder was optimistic about the future of the Palace of Darkness, she didn't think that this moment would come so quickly, so suddenly. At this moment, the Grand Elder had a surreal feeling, and he was unable to deal with this situation. Looking at these sect masters and elders who were fawning over him, the Grand Elder had an urge to cry. She did it, she finally did it. Although it wasn't the Grand Elder who did it, it didn't matter. As long as the Palace of Darkness grew, she could die without regrets. The Grand Elder didn't think that Lin Yi's influence would be this big, to be able to make these people act like this. Wasn't it just a second-rank cauldron? In fact, there was also Lin Yi's power. These ancient sects didn't have any grudges with Lin Yi, and other than a few, they didn't want to make enemies with Lin Yi. It didn't matter if Lin Yi could kill him in one shot or not. Anyway, Lin Yi was definitely very strong, so these people didn't want to mess with him if they could. The Grand Elder was busy chatting with these people, but in her heart she was happy, wishing that this would happen every day. The commotion here, however, made the face of someone on the other side darken. This person was Kong Ming. He came with Xiao Yi. He thought that after Lin Yi sold all 3 cauldrons, Lin Yi would definitely beg him, Kong Ming, to order the materials for the cauldrons. Chapter 33:15. For example, leaving Wang Xinyan, returning Wang Xinyan to his brother, taking back Little Yi's heaven-grade weapon, and so on. However, the scene in front of him made Kong Ming feel like he was struck by lightning. He was dumbfounded and speechless. What? After these 30-second grade cauldrons were sold out, they wouldn't be selling them anymore? They were going to produce improved products? But they hadn't overcome the technical difficulties? What did this mean? The time to be on the market was unknown? In other words, it was uncertain whether they would be on the market or not. If they didn't overcome the technical difficulties, there would be no second-grade cauldrons to be sold in the future? How could this be? What about the 300 second-grade cauldrons he had just made in his house? Who were they going to sell them to? Little Yi's breathing was also very rapid. He knew very well that he and Ancestor Xianxia were bound together for good or ill. If Ancestor Xianxia and Kang Xiaoming's second-grade cauldrons couldn't be sold, then what would happen? Brother Kang Wei. Little Yi took a deep breath and turned to look at Kang Mingming. Don't panic. Kang Mingming forced himself to calm down and said, Lin Yi must need a second-grade cauldron. Otherwise, why would he call the Hidden Right family to ask? Although there are technical difficulties to overcome for the second-grade cauldrons he made, the raw materials are second-grade cauldrons. Moreover, Lin Yi is not stupid. If he really couldn't overcome the technical difficulties, would he be stupid enough to give up this market? Obviously not. I don't believe that Lin Yi would be so stupid. He will definitely continue to make the current second-grade cauldrons. So, our second-grade cauldrons won't be left no matter what. It's just a matter of time. Brother Kang is really a genius. You can analyze Lin Yi's thoughts in such a short time. No wonder Master values you so much. After hearing Kang Mingming's words, Little Yi was relieved as if he had taken a tranquilizer. Now, in his opinion, Kang Mingming still had some ability. No wonder Ancestor Xianxia wanted Little Yi to marry him. Although his cultivation strength wasn't high, his IQ was still quite high. Wasn't the Five Elements sect lacking such a person now? The two of them calmed down and returned to the Five Elements sect. Kang Mingming told Patriarch Xianxia about his analysis. Patriarch Xianxia was relieved. After all, Kang Mingming's analysis was very reasonable. In fact, what they didn't know was that this second-class automatic medicinal cauldron was just a temporary substitute suggested by Lin. His purpose was to trick Kang Mingming. Han Jingjing had already found the materials that could replace a Grade 2 cauldron. The so-called technical difficulties were just Han Jingjing wanting to perfect the second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron a little more. After all, the current second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron could only be controlled by a limited number of people. Only a second-grade alchemist could use it. However, there were only a few second-grade alchemists in the entire ancient times. If you were to produce so many second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, who would you sell them to? This thing wouldn't break down so quickly unless it was done improperly and caused an explosion. Otherwise, a cauldron could be used for a few years or even decades. If you produced this kind of cauldron again, you wouldn't be able to sell it at all. During this time, Lin Yi had been staying in the Palace of Darkness to practice. The third level of the Art of Dragon Mastery was about to break through to the level of perfection. Lin Yi was ready to break through in one go. However, Lin Yi knew that this thing wasn't something that could be achieved in a day. Whether or not he could successfully break through, it was up to fate. Just when the Grand Elder happily returned to the Palace of Darkness with the 3 second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, Lin Yi also received a call from Han Jingjing, or rather, Lu Jinghan. There were a lot of sect masters and elders who wanted to use high prices or other resources to exchange for the cauldrons from the Grand Elder, but the Grand Elder didn't agree. She was very clear about her position in the Palace of Darkness, and was ready to let Meng Yao make the decision when she came back. However, she noted down all the conditions that each family offered, so that Meng Yao could come up with a plan to sell the 2 extra cauldrons to which family they should sell them. Jingjing, it's about the cauldrons, right? Linny picked up and asked. Yes, Linny bro, you really know everything. Han Jingjing said, surprised. Lu Jinghan, stop complimenting me. I'm not used to it. Lin Yi sweated. Han Jingjing's compliments always made him feel awkward. I'm Han Jingjing. Could it be that Lin Yi bro likes business genius girls like Lu Jinghan? Han Jingjing asked. Then it'll be Han Jingjing. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Do you have a new plan? Actually, you can make your own decisions. You don't have to discuss everything with me. Actually, it's like this. Second-grade automatic cauldrons that use replacement materials can be sold in the market at any time. We've already found a solution to the problem of the cauldron materials. However, if it's just a replacement material, even if the quality is slightly better, it won't be able to increase the sales. Han Jingjing said, the current second-grade automatic cauldrons use sky elixir sex cauldrons as raw materials, and they can be used for years or even decades. Our substitute materials, on the other hand, can be used for decades. There's a difference in essence, but it's not that big. We can't wait for a decade before we sell it. Oh, then what's the situation now? Linist. The second-grade automatic cauldrons were selling well recently, and Lin had gotten a huge sum of money from the Overseas Practitioners Association. It was still in the jade space, and he didn't have time to give it to Xiaoke. Plus, with the money transfer, the orphanage didn't lack money anymore. It was on the right track, and Lin had one less thing to worry about. So, Lin didn't need money that much, but Lin knew that the company's operations had reached a certain scale, and it had become a business that House Lu, Fatty Lai, and Kong Xiaobo depended on to survive. It couldn't be stopped or shut down, so Lin had to keep helping them. The current situation is that Jingjing has invented a cauldron that allows a first-grade refiner to refine second-grade pills. Han Jingjing's words were earth-shattering, and it gave Lin a big fright. What? A first-grade refiner can refine second-grade pills? Lin couldn't be blamed for his shock. This was simply overturning the millennium-old laws and rules of the cultivation world. If a first-grade refiner could refine second-grade pills, then the status of a second-grade refiner would plummet. Chapter 33:16. Yes, but now there is still a technical problem. Han Jingjing said, the principle of this first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron is to rely on the first-grade alchemist to control the temperature of the alchemy fire. In terms of fire intensity, the alchemy fire of the first-grade alchemist is definitely not as good as the fire intensity of the second-grade alchemist's alchemy fire. In this part, we can rely on external forces to make up for it. I think this external force is a material that can store and provide heaven and earth aura. As long as we find this material, we can make the first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. It's just that this material is quite difficult to find, and charging it with energy is also a problem. Although we can earn a lot of follow-up profits by constantly helping the first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron to charge, even if this material is found, how to charge it with energy and how to charge it is also a problem. Han Jingjing's words were not complicated. It was nothing more than a condition that the first-grade alchemist could not meet. This new version of first and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron could be used to make up for it. This principle was the same as Lin Yi's original idea of using the joint attack technique to let multiple alchemists simultaneously perform alchemy. He didn't expect that after Han Jingjing heard it, she directly applied it on the new version of the automatic medicinal cauldron. He had to say that Han Jingjing was a little genius. If this kind of medicinal cauldron went on the market, it would probably bring an unimaginable rush to buy it, and the subsequent after-sales service charging would also be an astronomical profit. But the same problem was how to store energy and qi. Lin had a flash of inspiration. The first thing that came to mind was Faubert's heirloom white energy stone. Later, the thing that Udake brought was the same thing. In other words, this white energy stone could store and release energy and qi. However, this kind of thing was rare. At first, it was regarded as a treasure by Faubert's sect, and later, not many were found. One could imagine the rarity of this thing. But later, Udake brought a treasure map, saying that there was a lot of this stone in the treasure. Could it be possible to get these stones out? Thinking of this, Lin fell silent and began to plan in his heart. Even without Han Jingjing, Lin had planned to go to the Hakanamada Desert. According to the information provided by the Red Conches, there was a poison refining base there. Moreover, it was the largest poison refining base in the Red Conches. Perhaps there would be news of the pangolin there. Big brother Lin what are you thinking? Are you thinking of that white energy stone? Han Jingjing asked. You've also thought of it? Only then did Lin remember that Han Jingjing also knew about this matter. When he was free, Lin had given the stone to Han Jingjing to study. Yes, When Jing Jing designed the first and second grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, she used this white energy stone as a reference. Jing Jing thought that the principle of this thing is probably the same, so when Jing Jing designed it, she also used the white energy stone as the prototype. Han Jingjing said, "In other words, as long as we have this white energy stone, we can mass-produce it, right?" Lin Yi nodded and made up his mind to go to the Hakanamata Desert. "Yes, but this only solves the initial problem. The key is to recharge." Han Jingjing paused and continued, "Or, if we have enough white energy stones to replace it." "This is a difficult problem." Lin Yi frowned. Where did the energy of this white energy stone come from? After using it, could it be recharged? After thinking about it, Lin Yi said, "Jing Jing, wait a minute. I'll make a call and ask about this matter." Lin Yi patted his head. How could he forget about Boss Bai? Boss Bai, as the former sect master of the Five Elements faction, was very knowledgeable. Since Little 11 didn't take away the energy stone after seeing it but threw it aside in disdain, it meant that she had seen this thing before. So, if she had seen this thing, how could Boss Bai not have seen it before? Thinking about this, Lin Yi decided to ask Boss Bai for advice. "Hey, Brother Lin Yi, I'll wait for your news." "Oh, I've returned to East Ocean City. I'm at the mansion. When will you come back?" Han Jingjing somewhat missed Lin. When Lin Yi came back, she wasn't at home. When she received the news and came back, Lin Yi was already gone. In fact, Lin Yi left the mansion after one night, and Han Jingjing couldn't make it back in time the next day. "Okay, I'll go back now. I also want to visit Ms. Bai," Lin Yi said. "Then I'll be waiting for you," Han Jingjing nodded happily. Lin Yi got up and left the guest room. He was leaving the Palace of Darkness. He had stayed in the Palace of Darkness for about a week. Lin Yi's third stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery was close to completion, but it wasn't complete yet. He had been stagnating these few days, so it was time for Lin Yi to leave. Although Meng Yao knew that Lin Yi couldn't always stay with her in the Palace of Darkness, she didn't expect that when the day really came, she would be this sad, just like the last time they parted. Meng Yao imagined that Lin Yi could stay with her in the Palace of Darkness. Although they didn't see each other much, and Lin Yi was there most of the time, it was enough. It was just like when they were in the mansion. Knowing that Lin Yi was by her side, Meng Yao felt very safe. But Meng Yao was a rational person. She knew that Lin Yi still had many things to do, and it was impossible for him to not leave. Only when Lin Yi kept improving, could they be together in the future. Lin Yi had to improve his strength in order to face the Sky Island project in the future. After saying goodbye to Meng Yao and the Grand Elder, Meng Yao didn't want to leave, but she didn't show it on her face. She was just a little sad. The miss was like that. She kept a lot of things in her heart and wouldn't say it out loud. That night, Lin Yi rode the Purple Lightning Beast back to Donghai City. When Lin Yi got home, he saw Han Jingjing in the living room. "Big bro Lin Yi, you're back." Han Jingjing, Yu Shu, and Xinyan were very familiar with each other, so she didn't feel strange at all. "And, Jingjing, pack up. We'll go see Ms. Bai together." Lin Yi wanted to settle this as soon as possible and leave for Hakanamata Desert. Chapter 33:17. Yu Shu and Xinyan didn't know what to do, but they heard from Han Jingjing that Lin Yi was going to see Boss Bai after he came back. It was already very late, but Boss Bai was happy to hear that Lin Yi was coming. However, in Boss Bai's living room, Lin Yi unexpectedly saw Himei. He didn't expect Himei to move into Boss Bai's house. Did this mean that Bai Weitua had gotten Himei? As expected, when Lin Yi glanced at Bai Weitua was a little embarrassed. "Boss, I've already brought Mei to see her parents. We've made plans to go to Southeast Asia tomorrow, so Mei will be staying here tonight." Lin Yi nodded. Although Lin Yi always felt that Himei wasn't very reliable, since Bai Weitua liked her, Lin Yi didn't want to interfere too much. "Have fun." Lin Yi smiled. "Boss, are you really not going? You're not bringing sis-in-law Xinyan. And sis-in-law Jingjing?" Bai Weitua saw Han Jingjing and knew that he said the wrong thing. It was really harmful to speak without thinking. Han Jingjing was obviously here, but she had to mention Xinyan. Bai Weitua was a little depressed. Even an idiot could see that Han Jingjing and Lin Yi's relationship wasn't ordinary. However, Han Jingjing didn't have any expression of jealousy. Instead, when she heard him call her sis-in-law, she was a little shy. This made Bai Weitua feel relieved. I'm not going. I have a lot of things to do here. Are you two going tomorrow? Linith. Fan Ganha and Zhang Duopan are going too. Who knows why they're going? But we're not on the same schedule. When it came to this matter, Bai Weitua was a little annoyed. These two people were really haunting him. He Meiyue had already confirmed a relationship with him. Did Zhang Duopan still want to interfere with it? Those two. Lin Yi frowned after hearing this. Be careful. Don't worry, boss. I'll stay away from them. Bai Weitua nodded. Lin Yi didn't say anything more. He turned around and said to Boss Bai, Mr. Bai, shall we talk in the study? Let's go. Boss Bai knew that Lin Yi must have a reason to visit him so late, so he stood up and walked to the library first, followed by Lin Yi and Han Jingjing. After they entered the study, Bai Weitua said to He Meiyue with a smile, Meiyue, it's getting late. Shall we go rest? What rest? Grandpa Bai didn't rest and you're telling me to rest? Aren't you making a fool of yourself? What's going on in your head? He Meiyue and Bai Weitua had not broken through the last line of defense, but the two of them were already kissing and hugging. Even so, Bai Weitua could not stop. Hee, then let's watch TV here for a while. Bai Weitua laughed twice and sat on the sofa helplessly. However, after He Meiyue sat down, she glanced at Bai Weitua and said shyly, Bai Wei, how about you take a bath first? Seeing that you've endured so much these days, I promise to reward you tonight. I can use my mouth to help you, do it once, but you have to wash it clean. If you can't do it properly, don't blame me for not keeping my promise. Ugh. After hearing He Meiyue's words, Bai Weitua was pleasantly surprised. He quickly stood up, patted his chest and promised, Don't worry, I will definitely wash it well. I promise to wash it very clean, 3 circles inside and 3 circles outside. You won't find any problem. And, okay, I'll check the time. Don't come out less than half an hour. He Meiyue nodded with satisfaction. Of course, half an hour is too short, at least 30 minutes. Bai Weitua laughed and rushed in the direction of the bathroom. After seeing Bai Weitua enter the bathroom, He Meiyue, who was originally sitting on the sofa, had a complicated look in her eyes. Then she stood up, picked up a cup of water on the coffee table, and walked in the direction of the water dispenser. However, when she passed by the study room, she seemed to have slipped and held on to the door of the study room for support before stopping. Although Lin Yi was a heaven stage expert, he also felt that someone was coming from the door of the study room. But then, there was the sound of the water dispenser, so Lin Yi didn't care. After all, the people outside the door were Bai Weitua and others. Lin Yi didn't need to suspect anything. Besides, this person just went to get the water and didn't stay at the door of the study room. At this moment, Lin Yi just finished chatting with Boss Bai and briefly talked about what happened recently. Then he went into the main topic. Teacher Bai, you must have heard about the latest second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron, right? Lin Yi asked. Why haven't I heard about it? Your second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron has been in the limelight recently. What? I heard that this medicinal cauldron has stopped selling. Are you preparing to research some improved version? Boss Bai asked. Yes, it is indeed like this. This rumor is not wrong. Lin Yi directly admitted this point. We are developing a new generation of second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron. It will no longer use second-grade medicinal cauldron as the raw material, but use a new type of substitute material to make it. But we have encountered a technical problem. Oh? You have found the substitute material? That's really great. Boss Bai nodded after listening and said, I have to tell you before that even if the raw material of this second-grade medicinal cauldron is ordered from the Hidden Yu family, their medicinal cauldron also comes from the Heavenly Elixir sect, which is the 5-element sect. So, this is not a long-term solution. But since you have found it, there is no problem. Yes. But the current difficulty is to make this second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron more intelligent. Lin Yi said, It's like this. As Lin Yi spoke, he explained the principle and function of the new, first-grade and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron, invented by Han Jingjing to Boss Bai in detail. So, this medicinal cauldron is actually so powerful? Boss Bai was a senior alchemist. His understanding of alchemy was even deeper than that of Lin Yi. At this time, when he heard that there was actually such a medicinal cauldron, he was very surprised. He also knew what kind of impact this kind of medicinal cauldron would have on alchemists. Yes, but this kind of white energy stone is very rare. Lin Yi said, "Here is a map, which was given to me by a friend. It is said that in the distant Hakunamata desert, there is such a white energy stone mine, and there are many white energy stones in it." Chapter 33:18. What's wrong, Mr. Bai? Is there anything wrong? Seeing Boss Bai's expression, Lin Yi's heart sank slightly. It seemed that things were not as simple as he had imagined. Lin Yi, even if you go to the Hakunamata desert, you may not be able to get the white energy stone. Boss Bai shook his head and said, "Because I know very well about the white energy stone. It was recorded in detail in the 5 Elements Sect's journal." What do you mean? Is there no white energy stone there? Is this map a lie? Lin Yi was stunned and asked. The map is not a lie. There is indeed a white energy stone mine there. Boss Bai paused for a moment and then continued, "However, that place is not an ownerless place. It has long been controlled by someone, and it is a family of cultivators." A cultivation family? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that things were not as easy as he had imagined. That's right. There is a mysterious race called the Bubble Li clan in the Hakunamata desert. This race can be said to be human, but also not human. No one knows what they are because they have never revealed it. They appear in human form, but they look very different from ordinary people. At first, everyone thought that they were people from a foreign land, and it was normal for them to look different. But with the development of science and technology and the popularization of the internet, even people in the cultivation world can use the internet. People found that the appearance of this race is different from that of foreigners. It is special, so we suspect that they are not a human race. Boss Bai explained. The Bubbly clan? Not human? Lin Yi was a little surprised after hearing this, but not to the extent of being shocked. After all, Lin Yi had seen the Great Flame Lion clan, the Spider clan, and there were Purple Electric Beast clan and other cultivating spirit beasts around him. So it was not surprising that other non-human clans could cultivate. Yes, but I'm not sure, because the Bubbly clan, apart from our 5 Elements sect and the Cultivators Trade Association, have little contact with other people and have little information. Boss Bai paused for a moment and said, when they came to the cultivation world on Huaxia's side, the Bubbly clan didn't have much contact with other people. They're here to do business. Through our 5 Elements sect, they've contacted the Cultivators Trade Association, and then they're selling the white energy stones in exchange for the cultivation resources they need. So they're saying that their white energy stones can be sold? Lin Yi's interest was piqued at this point. But these white energy stones, I don't think it's very common now. Yes, but that was in the past. In the last 200 to 300 years, the Bubbly clan no longer had dealings with this side. During their last transaction, they also said that the white energy stone mines were becoming fewer and fewer. They would keep the rest for their own use. As for the cultivation resources they traded, they would have to pay for it. It was enough for them to use for several lifetimes, so they stopped trading. Boss Bai said, so, after the passage of these 200 or 300 years, most of the cultivators who know about this kind of white energy stone have either passed away or are too lazy to mention it. Lin Yi nodded after hearing this. Time could annihilate a lot of things. 200 or 300 years was enough for the white energy stone to be annihilated in the tide of history. Because, let alone 200 or 300 years, even 100 years was enough for many people to forget these things. However, it wasn't surprising that Little 11 and the others knew about white energy stones. The 5 Elements sect was the first sect to contact the Bubbling Li clan, so it was likely that the 5 Elements sect still had some white energy stones in stock. It was no wonder that Little 11 was disdainful of them. If that's the case, then this thing belongs to the Bubbly clan. Does that mean that even if I go to the Hakunamata desert and find the location on this map, it won't do me any good and I won't be able to get the white energy stones? After hearing this, Lin Yi couldn't help but be very disappointed. It seemed that Udake's so-called treasure map might not be a treasure map, but a map of the Bubbly clan's location. The person who originally traded with the Bubbly clan might have obtained a white energy stone and a map from them and wanted to exchange it later. But these two things somehow fell into the hands of Udake, making him mistakenly think that they were good things. That's not necessarily true. Because so many years have passed, maybe the Bubbly clan has found a new energy stone mine. It's just that there has been no trade for so many years, and the remaining cultivation resources in their hands are enough, so they have not come to trade again. Boss Bai waved his hand and said, "So, if you have this with you, there is no harm in going to take a look." "I see. In that case, I should really try my luck." After listening, Lin Yi nodded and said, "Yes, the Bubbly clan is relatively easy to deal with. For them, as long as you pay enough price and sincerity, they will also return the favor." Boss Bai said, "In that case, thank you, Teacher Bai. It's getting late, I'll go back first." After getting the answer he wanted, Lin Yi did not stay any longer. After all, it was already very late. "Okay, I won't see you off." Boss Bai paused here and said, "I heard about the matter of the Dark Night Palace. It should be related to Xianxia. You should be careful." "I know." Lin Yi had already suspected Kong Ming before. At this time, when Boss Bai said this, Lin Yi was even more sure that this matter was caused by ancestor Xianxia and Kong Ming. However, even if he knew, Lin Yi could not do anything for the time being. Lin Yi knew his own strength. It was true that he could instantly kill experts with the strength of the peak late stage of Heaven stage, but he could not do it continuously. Moreover, the Five Elements sect still had experts with the strength of the peak late stage of Heaven stage perfection. Lin Yi could not directly kill them. Not long after Lin Yi and Han Jingjing left Boss Bai's residence, in the distant Five Elements sect, Ancestor Xuanqian's face was very gloomy. At this time, Kong Ming beside him was also full of shock, astonishment, and disbelief. "Father-in-law, is what you said true? Lin Yi does not intend to use the second-grade medicinal cauldron as raw material to produce second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons?" Kong Ming asked very unwillingly. Chapter 33:19. "So, all the second-grade medicinal cauldrons we've made before are in vain?" Kong Ming's whole body was like a balloon that had been sucked dry, and his whole body went limp on the ground. One had to know that this was his entire stake. The idea was good. If he could seize the source of raw materials from Lin Yi, he would not be afraid that Lin Yi would not cooperate with him obediently. But what about now? Lin Yi had replaced the second-grade medicinal cauldrons, and all the second-grade medicinal cauldrons produced by Kong Ming were useless. Not only was it a waste of manpower and material resources, but most importantly, the Five Elements sect did not have the capital to cooperate with Lin Yi anymore. If there is no accident, it should be like this. Ancestor Xianxia was originally powerless when it came to business matters. Now that this had happened, he had no idea what to do. However, he did not blame Kong Ming. After all, he was the one who had made the decision in the beginning. Now that there was a problem, he also had a lot of responsibility. If there is no accident, "Father-in-law, why don't we give him an accident?" When Kong Ming said this, his face flashed a touch of ferociousness. "Lin Yi, you forced me to do this. Since you don't know how to appreciate favors and don't cooperate with us, then don't blame me for fighting to the death with you." "An accident? How can there be an accident?" Ancestor Xianxia was originally at his wit's end, but after hearing Kong Ming's words, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he quickly asked, Isn't Lin going to the Hakanamata Desert to find the Bubbly clan?" Kong Ming said, "Father-in-law, you should have the contact information of the Bubbly clan, right?" Boss Bai also said that as long as we pay enough sincerity and bargaining chips, the Bubbly clan will return the favor. In this case, why don't we make the first move and let the Bubbly clan refuse to cooperate with Lin Yi and refuse to sell the white energy stones to Lin Yi? In this way, I'm afraid that Lin Yi's plan of the first-grade and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons will come to an end. It's not impossible, But if we do this, even if Lin Yi doesn't produce the first-grade and second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons, and only produces the existing second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons and replaces them with new materials, we still have no competitiveness. Ancestor Xianxia did not have Kong Mingming's business sense, so he did not understand Kong Mingming's meaning. It's like this. As long as there are no white energy stones, they can only produce the current second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons. Even if they replace the materials of the medicinal cauldrons, the function will still be the same, right? Kong Mingming paused and continued, as long as this is the case, we will have the strength to compete. Now, our Heavenly Elixir sect also has a second-grade automatic medicinal cauldron on the market. When the time comes, we can let Dr. Benjamin too imitate it. It should be possible to imitate it. It's just a matter of time. At that time, we will also sell and compete with them. In this way, we don't have to worry about those second-grade automatic medicinal cauldrons not being sold. Good idea. Ancestor Xianxia nodded. Although he was not as smart as Kong Mingming in business matters, when it came to ruthlessness, he was even worse than Kong Mingming. He thought for a while and came up with a more ruthless method. If Lin Yi dies, then this medicinal cauldron will be sold exclusively by our Heavenly Elixir sect in the future. At that time, we can earn as much money as we want. Oh, father-in-law, you want to get rid of Lin Yi? When Kong Mingming heard this, he was pleasantly surprised. But Lin Yi's strength is there. Wasn't he able to instantly kill a peak late heaven rank expert? Who should we send to kill Lin Yi? Us? We don't need to do it. Elder Xianxia shook his head and chuckled. The Bubbly clan isn't weak. As far as I know, they already have 3 experts at the peak of the late stage of heaven rank. Now, I'm afraid they have even more. Let them test the waters and get rid of Lin. It's a good idea. Now, no one knows if Lin Yi can fight against a peak late heaven rank great perfection expert. So, with the Bubbly clan taking action, it will save me a lot of probing. Moreover, even if we fail, we won't lose anything. That's a good idea. I didn't expect the Bubbly clan to be so formidable. But father-in-law, can they make a move? Kong Mingming was confident that the Bubbly clan wouldn't make a deal with Lin Yi, but he wasn't confident that they would be able to get rid of Lin Yi. So, he couldn't help but worry. We have to give it a try. Ancestor Xianxia pondered for a moment and said, how about this, you make a move now. Go to the Bubbly clan and negotiate with them with my keepsake. I have to go personally? Kong Mingming was stunned. The Bubbly clan hasn't contacted the cultivation world in the Central Plains for 200 to 300 years. I don't have any way to contact them. After all, there were no telephones at that time, and the messenger pigeons that specialize in delivering letters are all dead. If I don't go personally, I really have no way to contact them. Ancestor Xianxia said, but don't worry, the Bubbly clan's earliest emissary to the Central Plains contacted our 5-element sect. If you go with the identity of a disciple of our 5-element sect, they won't make things difficult for you. That's good. Kong Mingming thought that if he could get Lin Yi to die, so what if he had to travel all the way to the Hakanamada Desert? As long as Lin Yi was dead, it would be worth it no matter how tiring it was. If that's the case, pack your things and leave tomorrow. Ancestor Xianxia ordered. The next morning, Kong Mingming packed his things and set off for the Hakanamada Desert with little Lin Yi actually planned to leave in a few days, but who would have thought that something big would happen at this time, forcing Lin Yi to stop for a while. He cancelled his plan to go to the Hakanamada Desert and stayed in East Sea City. Xinyan had fainted. She'd fainted without any warning. In fact, it was very simple. That morning, she was supposed to wake up with Wang Xinyan to eat breakfast made by Lin Yi, but Wang Xinyan was still sound asleep. At first, Shu didn't think much of it. She went downstairs alone. After all, it wasn't a big deal for Wang Xinyan to sleep in. In Shu's opinion, it might be because Lin Yi just came back last night, and Wang Xinyan was a little excited. The two chatted for a long time in the middle of the night before going to bed. So, when Lin Yi didn't see Wang Xinyan, he asked Shu. Shu said that Wang Xinyan slept late last night and didn't wake up. Lin Yi didn't think much of it. Chapter 33:20. Wang Xinyan was a very disciplined person. She'd wake up by now even if she was sleeping late, unless she was sick. Shu, go upstairs and have a look. Why isn't Xianxia up yet? Lin Yi didn't realize that something was wrong yet. He was just curious. Yushu didn't think there was anything wrong with that. She went upstairs and saw that Xinyan was still sound asleep. She pushed her a few times, but Xinyan didn't wake up. She pushed her a few more times, but Xinyan didn't move at all. Yushu started to panic. It wasn't like this hadn't happened to Xinyan before, but it was a long time ago. Lin Yi had gotten the medicine from the Snowy Valley, and Xinyan was no different from a normal person after using it. Shu was relieved, but now it seemed like Xinyan was acting up again. Shield bro. Xiao Shu hurriedly ran out of the room and stood at the staircase on the second floor of the villa, shouting, "Oh no, Sister Xianxia fainted again." What? Lin Yi, who was washing the dishes in the kitchen, paused and ran up to the second floor. Wang Xinyan fainted again? What happened? Lin Yi didn't have time to talk to Shu. He rushed into the bedroom and put his hand on Xinyan's wrist. Lin Yi frowned. Lin Yi was a doctor. There was no way he wouldn't be able to tell that Xinyan was in a coma. But why was Xinyan unconscious? At this moment, Lin Yi could clearly feel that Xinyan's life force was weakening. Could it be that the jade orchid grass wasn't working anymore? Or could it be that the amount he took last time was not enough? But that was impossible. Old Lin said it before. As long as there was jade orchid grass, Xinyan would be fine. How could there be a problem? But the truth was right in front of him. Lin Yi couldn't question it. So after a moment of silence, Lin Yi decisively dialed Old Lin's number. Congratulations. You've been improving pretty fast, haven't you? Old Lin also learned from the Bloodcloth Underworld sect that Lin Yi could now instantly kill a peak late-stage heaven rank expert. He was very gratified. It seemed that Lin Yi had dodged another calamity. He grew up in the midst of the calamity. Old man, let's talk about this later. I have something more important to discuss with you. Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to exchange pleasantries with Old Man Lin. If it was any other time, he would have told Old Man Lin about his experiences, but now, because of Wang Xinyan, Lin Yi didn't want to waste precious time. Lin Dongfang was slightly taken aback and said solemnly, "What happened?" Wang Xinyan fainted again. Lin Yi said straightforwardly, "I checked her body just now, and the vitality in her body is gradually decreasing. What's going on?" The orchid jade grass from before. Didn't they say that Wang Xinyan's problem was completely cured? Why did she faint? Fainted again? Lin Dongfang's brows suddenly furrowed. Lin Yi quickly picked up the phone when he heard the ringtone. If I'm not wrong, Wang Xinyan's physique is similar to someone I've met before. Lin Dongfang said slowly. Chapter 33:21. I don't know what it's called, and that person didn't know either, but she called it the sponge body. Lin Dongfang said. Sponge body? What does that mean? Lin Yi didn't understand. Is it a type of practitioner's body? You could say that it's called a sponge body, but it's just a metaphor. Old Man Lin explained, the so-called sponge is very absorbent, but there are a number of holes on it, so the leakage is also very strong. In other words, the human body is like a sponge. It can absorb a large amount of spiritual energy, but it can also be like squeezing a sponge, squeezing out the water inside, which is the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It is reversible. You're saying that Wang Xinyan has this type of body? Lin Yi thought about it. It really was the case. There seemed to be some energy in Xinyan's body that could be absorbed by him, and Xinyan herself could absorb the qi from her jade pendant and store it in her body. That should be it. Lin Dongfang nodded. Back then, I had a friend's sister who had this type of body as well. Practitioners with this type of body would be able to level up very quickly if they had the right chance and enough qi. They'd be able to go from a normal person to sky-class late phase peak in a matter of months. Of course, the time would be different depending on the qi in the air. Then Xinyan. Lin Yi was shocked by the speed of a person with this kind of constitution, but he was more worried about Xinyan's body condition. Xinyan was already fainting. What was the point of training? Xinyan's body. It's the same as that person's, triggered by the orchid jade grass. Lin Dongfang said. It's because of the grass that I thought of this. Old man, it doesn't matter if I know or not. What I want to know is, what should Xinyan do now? Lin asked. To be honest? Lin Dongfang smiled bitterly. I don't know either. Ah? You don't know either? Lin Yi was stunned and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then where can I find your friend's sister? She has already left. For now, you won't be able to find her. But Lin Dongfang said, what I can tell you is that this kind of physique, without the coordination of mental cultivation method and mnemonic chant, can also absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to wake up and recover on its own. Within a year, there won't be too much danger to his life. However, without the mantra, one cannot become a cultivator. That's not important. The most important thing is to stay alive. Lin Yi was relieved after listening. Don't you know that? You scared me to death. That's just what I heard. I don't know if it works or not. Lin Dongfang said helplessly, moreover, do you think it's so easy to find a place with abundant spiritual energy? A place with abundant heaven and earth spiritual qi. Can't those ancient sects do? Lin Yi asked after thinking for a while. It was possible in the past, but I'm afraid it's not possible now. Lin Dongfang said, the spiritual energy is getting thinner and thinner, it's not enough for her to absorb anymore. Is that so? Lin Yi felt helpless. Old Lin was right, a place with abundant heaven and earth spiritual qi was hard to find. Lin Yi had a ready-made place, but only Lin Yi could enter that place. Wang Xinyan couldn't go in. The jade space could be used for storage, but it didn't work on living beings. He couldn't kill Wang Xinyan and put her in, could he? That person was dead, what was the use of putting her in? But don't be disappointed, that person may have left, but her sister, my friend, is still here. Go ask her, and you'll get the answers you want. Lin Dongfang sighed and said, I didn't plan to contact her for the rest of my life. But, for you, it seems that some things must be faced. Old man, what are you talking about? Lin Yi was confused by Lin Dongfang's words. He didn't know what Lin Dongfang meant. Nothing. Old Lin shook his head. Go, when you see her, tell her that you're my descendant. I believe she won't make things difficult for you, and will answer your questions. Chapter 33:22. But this time was different. The beast was very fast, and it only took one night for Lin Yi's group to arrive at the town. The familiar town, everything that had happened half a year ago was still fresh in their minds, as if it had happened yesterday. Lin Yi was only a mystic back then, not even an earth class, but now Lin Yi was a sky class mid-phase. Ice spirit in Lin Yi didn't disguise. He carried Xinyan and the purple thunderbolt beast on his back as they walked into the inn's lobby. The ice spirit inn was usually uninhabited when the ice palace trials weren't being held. Shopkeeper Li was here every day, but his job was to collect letters from the common world. He knew that someone had entered the inn when he heard footsteps, and looked up curiously to see who it was. Shopkeeper Li, long time no see. Do you still remember me? Lin Yi was no longer as cautious and timid as before, but looked at Shopkeeper Li calmly with a smile. You're Lin. Shopkeeper Li jumped, not expecting Lin Yi to suddenly visit the ice palace. Shopkeeper Li knew that Lin Yi wasn't called Lin Yi, but he also knew what had happened in the Dark Palace a while ago. Lin Yi had killed a Sky-class late-phase peak all by himself, and injured 2 Sky-class late-phase peaks. What kind of accomplishment was that? This was still unconfirmed, and there were still people who doubted it, but just the fame that Lin Yi had built up in the past was enough for Elderly to look up to. Lin Yi was a Sky-class mid-phase, and Elderly couldn't even hope to catch up to him. The world of practitioners was a world where strength was everything. At this moment, Shopkeeper Li no longer had the arrogant attitude he had when he first met Lin. He quickly stood up from his seat. Welcoming Lin. Hi, it's me. It seems like Shopkeeper Li's memory is quite good. Lin laughed. Young hero Lin, may I know why you've come to our ice palace? Shopkeeper Li asked carefully. It's nothing. It's been more than half a year. I really miss the people here, so I came over to have a look. Is Ice Palace's rock candy here? Lin asked. Ice candy chick? Manager Li was speechless. What kind of a dress was that? Only Lin Yi would dare to use it. If it was someone else, they would have died countless times. But Elderly didn't dare to say anything. He could only say carefully, "The Ice Palace Master is in the Ice Palace. Young hero Lin, do you want me to inform the Palace Master to come and welcome you?" He had to be humble. Lin Yi's current strength was there for all to see. Rock Candy came out to welcome him. He was fully qualified. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He was just joking casually. Why did Manager Li let Rock Candy come out to greet him? All of a sudden, Lin Yi felt a little emotional. Half a year ago, Rock Candy looked down on him. She didn't even want to see him, but now, why would she come out to greet him? With that thought, Lin Yi's bad taste rose. He said faintly to Manager Li, "Alright, tell her to come and greet me." "Yes." Shopkeeper Li nodded. He didn't think there was anything wrong with this. After all, Lin Yi had the strength to do so, and even a normal sky class would have the right to meet the sect master. But what surprised Lin Yi was that Manager Li didn't use a pigeon this time. He took out a satellite phone. Lin Yi was very surprised. "Your ice palace doesn't need pigeons anymore? Why did you change it to a phone?" The Ice Palace Master actually likes these high-tech products under Vice Palace Master Feng's influence. Manager Li explained. He knew the relationship between Lin Yi and Xiaoxiao, so he didn't hide it. "Oh," Lin Yi nodded. Manager Li's phone went through as well, and Rock Candy's voice sounded, "Manager Li, what's up? Palace Master, Lin Yi, young Master Lin, has come to our Ice Spirit Tavern. He's heading to the Ice Palace. Do you want to greet him personally?" Manager Li asked carefully. "Who's here? Lin Yi?" Rock Candy paused, not expecting Lin Yi to come to the Ice Palace. She was a little annoyed and embarrassed. Was Lin Yi here to show off? She remembered that she had promised him that when he had the strength of a sky-class late-phase peak or became a mystic first-level refiner, she would be his little wife. But now that Lin Yi was here, did he want her to fulfill that promise? Naturally, Rock Candy knew about Lin Yi's exploits in the Dark Palace. He killed a Sky-class late-phase peak in one hit, so while Lin Yi was only Sky-class mid-phase, from what Lin Yi had shown, Lin Yi was at least Sky-class late-phase peak. How else would he be able to kill a Sky-class late-phase peak in one hit? So naturally, Rock Candy thought that Lin Yi was here to show off. Asking her to greet him? Dreama. Don't think I don't know who the Dark Palace Master Mengyao is. Was it that hard to ask her to make up a rumor? And so, Rock Candy got even angrier. Greet him? I won't even meet him, much less greet him. With that, Crystal Candy hung up the phone, leaving behind an innocent and nervous shopkeeper Li. Was she trying to piss Lin Yi off? She pissed off Lin Yi, and now she had to face him. What a trap, but Manager Li didn't dare to complain. He could only smile bitterly at Lin Yi. "Young hero Lin, the palace master has something to do. Okay, I heard everything. Lead the way, bring me to the Ice Palace." Lin Yi waved his hand, not minding at all. After all, Rock Candy and Lin Yi were old acquaintances. Although her arrogance and disdain made Lin Yi unhappy, Rock Candy had helped him before, and they were quite close. Naturally, he wouldn't get angry over that. "Okay." Manager Li let out a breath of relief. It seemed like Lin Yi was easy to talk to. But Manager Li found it weird. The last time Lin Yi came, he was carrying someone, and now that he was the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, he was carrying someone again. Was Lin Yi addicted to carrying people? Did he bring someone every time he came to the Ice Palace? Or did Lin Yi carry someone every time he went out? What kind of habit was that? But no matter what, Manager Li didn't dare ask anything. He carefully walked in front, bringing Lin Yi towards the Ice Palace. Chapter 33-23. Instead, it was a relatively easy path to take. After all, Mystic Division Masters didn't have the ability to fly, but Earth Division and Heaven Division Masters were different. Their Qing Gong level was greatly improved, especially Heaven Division Masters. This time, Shopkeeper Li didn't bring Lin Yi around in circles, choosing the shortest path. He knew that for a master like Lin Yi, this so-called secret path of the Ice Palace was bullshit. His senses were extremely strong, and going around in circles in front of him was just asking for trouble. The two of them walked toward the direction of the Ice Palace. Up ahead is the Ice Palace's territory. Hero Lin, when we get there, could you wait in the waiting room at the entrance? I'll go report this to the sect master. Shopkeeper Li was in a difficult situation. He didn't dare bring Lin Yi into the Ice Palace without Crystal Candy coming out to welcome him. Of course. Lin Yi nodded faintly. No matter what, Ice Palace was Xiaoxiao's vice palace master, and he didn't need to treat them as an enemy. If Crystal Candy's pride was acting up, he'd let her do it. Lin Yi acted like he didn't see it. Thank you for your understanding, Hero Lin. Shopkeeper Li breathed in relief. Ha! Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything else. But as the two neared the Ice Palace gates, Shopkeeper Li was about to speak to Lin Yi when an arrogant figure appeared in front of the gates at lightning speed. Lin Yi didn't go full speed in order to take care of Shopkeeper Li's speed, and so the figure just appeared in front of the gates, not caring about Lin Yi and Shopkeeper Li at all. Who's this? Lin Yi frowned. There was someone this unruly in the Ice Palace? He'd never heard of a strong male elder in the Ice Palace. You don't know him? Shopkeeper Li was a bit confused as to where this person had come from. Since when did the Ice Palace have someone like this? From the looks of it, he was a master? Lin Yi thought that this was someone from the Ice Palace, but Shopkeeper Li said that he didn't know him. Only then did Lin Yi take a closer look at the person who'd walked to the Ice Palace's entrance. Lin Yi jumped in shock when he saw who it was. This person was a sky-class late-phase peak. He was on the same level as Crystal Candy? And a man at that? This person was most likely not from the Ice Palace, because the experts from the Ice Palace were not men, they were all women. From the looks of it, this person did not come with good intentions. What confused Lin Yi the most was that this person looked familiar from the back. Lin Yi felt like he'd seen him somewhere before, but from the back, Lin Yi couldn't tell where this person was from. So this person isn't from the Ice Palace? Lin Yi stopped and didn't rush forward. He wanted to see the situation first. After all, Lin Yi came to the Ice Palace for something important. If this person was here to cause trouble, then Lin Yi had to think about how to deal with it. Of course, a sky-class late-phase peak like this wasn't something that Lin Yi cared about, but Lin Yi was afraid that this person was just a vanguard, and there would be others following behind. It wasn't strange for Lin Yi to be doubtful. After all, it wasn't very realistic for someone to cause trouble in the Ice Palace alone. Crystal Candy was also a sky-class late-phase peak, and just her alone was enough to deal with this person. Although he couldn't kill the person who came, it wasn't realistic for the person to want to commit crimes. So Lin Yi decided to see the situation first. Yes, I don't know him. Young warrior Lin, what should we do now? Shopkeeper Li saw that Lin Yi had stopped. He didn't know what Lin Yi was thinking, so he asked, "We're not going? Since there's a guest here, then we'll wait." Who asked him to run so fast? Lin Yi said lightly. But Shopkeeper Li couldn't tell what Lin Yi was really implying either. Lin Yi's tone was calm, and he didn't know if it was because he really cared about etiquette, letting the customer go first, or if it was because he was unhappy that the customer had gone first. While Shopkeeper Li was guessing, the sky-class late-phase peak master spoke. "Where's Crystal Candy? Come out and greet our 5 Elements sect's messenger." This person's voice was very profound. Once he opened his mouth, it was like a great bell. The entire Ice Palace could hear this shocking voice. If it was before, Lin Yi would be quite envious of this. But now, it was just a small trick in Lin Yi's eyes. However, the words spoken by this person made Lin Yi's eyes sharpen, and a flash of light flashed through his eyes. The envoy of the 5 Elements sect? So, this person was on Xianxia ancestor's side? Now, Lin Yi finally understood why this person looked so familiar to him. This person's dressing was very similar to the group of robbers that went to the Dark Palace. But, was that all? The thought flashed through Lin Yi's mind, but he didn't think too much about it. This familiarity could only be a minor detail. What was the real reason? Because this person's voice was also familiar to Lin Yi. However, no matter what, this person was undoubtedly from the 5 Elements sect. In that case, the 3 robbers who were injured and killed by him before were probably also disciples of the 5 Elements sect. In this way, Ancestor Xianxia was going to vomit blood, right? His 3 disciples were like this because of him? 1 dead and 2 disabled? It should be known that even in the Five Elements sect, there weren't that many Heaven Stage experts. In the ancient times, the number of Heaven Stage experts was only in the double digits. Including those from overseas and foreign lands, there were probably less than 200 Heaven Stage experts. How could the Five Elements sect not feel heartache after losing 3 of their Heaven Stage experts? Crystal Candy was waiting for Elderly to bring Lin Yi over. She was thinking, if Lin Yi mentioned the Little Mistress promise, how should she respond? If Lin Yi mentioned it, then she would make a move. She would let her know that rumors stop with the wise. Colluding with the Dark Palace to make up a story about killing a peak late-stage Heaven Stage Master and crippling 2 peak late-stage Heaven Stage Masters. Would anyone believe such a rumor? Even an absolute Realm Master wouldn't be able to kill a peak late-stage Heaven Stage Master so quickly, right? Chapter 33-24. But what Bing Tang didn't expect was that someone was shouting outside the Ice Palace. Who had the guts to do that? Could it be Lin Yi? But what surprised Bing Tang was that it didn't seem to be Lin Yi's voice. Moreover, he said that he was the messenger of the Five Elements sect. What was the messenger of the Five Elements sect doing here? But no matter who he was, Bing Tang couldn't just ignore him. The name of the Five Elements sect was there, and the relationship between the Ice Palace and the Five Elements sect was unclear. Bing Tang also vaguely knew who was supporting the Heavenly Elixir sect. So, she had to meet this person. Thinking of this, Bing Tang didn't hesitate. She flew out of her room and floated towards the entrance of the Ice Palace. Ice Palace Master, you're so arrogant. You made me wait here for so long and now you're coming out? Could it be that you don't put our Five Elements sect in your eyes? The Five Elements sect's emissary asked arrogantly. The messenger of the Five Elements sect? What business do you have with our Ice Palace? Bing Tang glanced at the strength of the messenger. She knew that he was only at the peak of the late phase of Heaven Stage. He was on the same level as her. Naturally, she wouldn't be too polite. After all, she was the leader of an ancient sect. It was good enough that he came to greet her personally. Bing Tang, I won't talk nonsense with you. What do you think about the marriage with the Heavenly Elixir sect? Do you agree or not? The messenger of the Five Elements sect shouted. He came here to confirm this matter. Ancestor Xianxia was in a bad mood after being humiliated by Lin. He suddenly remembered the matter of the Ice Palace. So, he sent his disciple Little Six to the Five Elements sect. That's right, this Little Six was that Old Six who stopped Lin Yi on the Wulongheot mountain range back then. Old 12 had been killed, but Old 6 was still fine. It was just that he had messed things up back then, and Patriarch Xianxia had made him think about it behind closed doors for a period of time. Now that Little 3, Little 4 and Little 5 were dead, and Tagon Long had recovered, Little 6 could return to the world. This was the first task he had done since he returned to the world. He had been cooped up in his room for a long time, so he was naturally in a bad mood. So he vented it on Rock Candy. One had to know that this engagement was something that Patriarch Black Earth valued the most and was of utmost importance. In order to carry out the plan, he would have to convince the successors to agree to the marriage. Otherwise, it would be difficult to guarantee that they would not have any selfish motives. If that happened, he would be doomed eternally. Rock Candy's matter had been dragged on for a long time, and the Xianxia ancestor sent Little Six here for 2 reasons. 1. To give the Ice Palace's exit a good beating with Lin Yi, and 2. To test Rock Candy's attitude and see if the heir was Xiao Xiao or Rock Candy. Hearing Little Six talk about the engagement, Rock Candy's expression changed instantly. Anger surged on her face. It's really your Five Elements sect's doing. I was wondering what was going on with this engagement. Why is the Sky Elixir sect so domineering? So it's because you guys are supporting them. Supporting? So what? Rock Candy, who do you think you are? You're just a palace master of the Ice Palace. Do you think that if it wasn't for the fact that the Ice Palace is a subsidiary of our Five Elements sect, you would have the status you have now? Others would be afraid of you? Give you face? Dream on. If you go against our Five Elements sect, I guarantee that the Ice Palace will be destroyed. Little Six was here to vent his anger. First, it was his anger, and second, it was the Xianxia ancestors' anger. So, he was arrogant and didn't care. At this time, Xiao also rushed over. Rock Candy could hear Little Six shout, so naturally, Xiao could hear it too. As the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, she had to show up out of etiquette when a guest came to visit. But she had just reached Sky Class early phase, and wasn't as strong as Rock Candy, so she was slower. She thought that it was some kind of friendly guest, but she didn't expect to hear Little Six words as soon as she arrived. Xiao's face changed. Who was Xiao? She used to be one of the 4 big bullies of Songshan's first school. One could imagine her temper. Naturally, she wasn't happy that someone was causing trouble in front of the Ice Palace. As the Vice Palace Master of the Ice Palace, if she didn't fight back, then where would the Ice Palace's face go? Plus, there were many times when Rock Candy couldn't speak up, and she had to speak up. This was related to the Ice Palace's honor. If Rock Candy spoke up, then they might start fighting, but if Xiao spoke up, then there was still some leeway. This was the difference between the Palace Masters and Vice Palace Masters. They could attack and defend. Who are you, old man? Senior sister Rock Candy is my husband's little wife. What engagement? Is there something wrong with you, old thing? Xiao frowned. Your husband? Little Six paused. He didn't know Xiao, but he saw that she was just a Sky Class early phase, so he didn't think much of her. She wasn't someone powerful. And Rock Candy was someone's little wife? Why didn't he know about this? It was just an excuse to reject the engagement. With that thought, Little Six wasn't afraid anymore. He didn't dare hit Rock Candy, but he could hit Xiao, an elder. That's right, in his eyes, Xiao was just a normal elder of the Ice Palace. After all, no one had ever heard that Xiao was Rock Candy's junior sister. Didn't Rock Candy's master leave the Ice Palace a long time ago? Where would she find a disciple? This person in front of him wasn't Xiao, then. And so, Little Six glared and raised his hand, slapping at Xiao's face. Of course, he didn't want to kill her, he just wanted to teach her a lesson. Little bitch, how dare you yell in front of me? I'll slap you to death. Don't you dare. Bingtang jumped in fright and quickly pulled Xiao to the side. But Little Six was a Sky Class late phase peak after all, and his palm was already swinging out. Xiao dodged it because of Bingtang, but the wind from the palm still hit Bingtang, tearing a couple of holes in her white shirt. But even so, Rock Candy didn't dare say anything. If it was someone from the Sky Elixir sect here, she would fight them, but against someone from the 5 Elements sect, she really didn't dare. Rock Candy's face was red as she glared at Little Six. Chapter 33-25. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow path. Back then, Lin Yi was afraid of him, Patriarch Xianxia. But now? Since Lin Yi had already killed a few of Patriarch Xianxia's people and made Little 11th miserable, how could Lin Yi let Little 7 go back in one piece? Who? Xiao Qi was shocked. He didn't expect someone to be so arrogant. He was the high and mighty emissary of the 5 Elements sect, the disciple of Patriarch Xianxia, so he was furious at that moment. What a yawning toad. What arrogance. Xiao Qi heard Lin Yi's voice, and so did Bingtang and Xiao. Their faces changed slightly. Bingtang was a little annoyed that Lin Yi was calling her Lil. If Lin Yi stood up for them, wouldn't that just draw the hatred onto the Ice Palace? Rock Candy didn't think that Lin Yi had the ability to face the 5 Elements sect alone. Xiao, on the other hand, was different. She was overjoyed to see Lin Yi, even forgetting that the Ice Palace was in trouble. It had been a long time since she'd seen Lin Yi, and she missed him a lot. She rushed into Lin Yi's arms and hugged him tight. Lin Yi, honey, you came to see me. You're Lin Yi? Little Six's face changed upon hearing this. However, it wasn't because he was afraid of Lin. He didn't know that Little 3, Little 4, and Little 5 had died at Lin Yi's hands. After all, Xiao San, Xiao Si, and Xiao Wu were secretly carrying out Ancestor Xuanxian's orders to pretend to be robbers. Such a thing was very disgraceful. Even within the 5 Elements sect, Ancestor Xianxian could not speak of it, in case it reached the ears of Ancestor Xian Zhen or Boss Bai. Plus, when the 3 returned, 1 was dead and 2 were injured. Ancestor Xianxian wouldn't speak of such a shameful thing, and it would weaken his morale. Therefore, Xiao Qi didn't know the specifics of this matter. He only knew that 3 of his senior brothers were killed or crippled during a mission, but he didn't know who killed them. Although this matter was shocking, Xiaoqi also knew the rules. He shouldn't ask about things he shouldn't ask. Of course, if time was longer, Xiaoqi would still be able to hear some clues from other people's mouths. After all, this matter could not be hidden for a long time. However, time was short, and he was directly assigned a mission by old ancestor Xianxia. Therefore, Xiaoqi didn't know about Lin Yi's heroic deeds at all. His memory was still at the Wulanhate mountain range, when Lin Yi killed Old 12 and injured Tagan Dragon. So it's you, Lin Yi. What an arrogant tone. I let you escape back in Longhaote Mountains. This time, I'll kill you first to avenge my 12th brother and Tagan Long. Xiaoqi smiled coldly. He didn't expect that there would be an unexpected harvest this time. If the culprit of the Longhaote Mountains, Lin Yi, could be killed, then his contribution would be great. Xiaoqi also knew that his position was not very outstanding among the disciples of the 5 Elements sect. There were 6 senior brothers above him, but it was different now. Other than Xiao Yi and Xiao Er, there was only him. If he made a contribution this time, then the Xianxia ancestor would definitely think highly of him, right? Thinking of this, Xiaoqi was determined to kill Lin Yi here and now. Is that so? Then let's see who dies first. A smile flashed across the corner of Lin Yi's mouth. As soon as he finished speaking, he put Xiao Xiao to the side and activated the mantra. The 11th move of the Frenzy 8 trigram palm was used, and it hit Xiaoqi's chest. Xiaoqi raised his vigilance towards Lin Yi's palm, but he didn't care too much. After all, when Lin Yi activated the mantra, he could see that Lin Yi was a Sky-class mid-stage master. Although he was a little surprised that Lin Yi's strength increased so quickly, Xiaoqi didn't care more about it. After all, although Lin Yi's strength increased, it was not enough to enter Xiaoqi's eyes. He was a master at the peak of the late stage of Sky class. So, Xiaoqi calmly activated the mantra and prepared to protect his body with qi, but he didn't dodge. Instead, he prepared to give Lin Yi a critical blow after Lin hit him, and fight head-on with Lin. Boom! The 11th form of the Frenzied Fire 8 trigrams palm hit Xiaoqi's chest. Xiaoqi's expression changed from disdain to shock in less than a second. In the next moment, Xiaoqi's body was sent flying and smashed into the walls of the ice palace. There was a deafening sound as he smashed a large hole in the crystal pillars of the ice palace. Xiaoqi was shocked, but Crystal Candy and Xiao Xiao were even more shocked. A complicated look flashed in Crystal Candy's eyes. Lin Yi could really kill a Sky-class late-stage peak? How was this possible? Lin Yi's strength was only at the mid-phase of Sky-class. How was it possible for him to use such a powerful move? Crystal Candy couldn't believe her own eyes. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was shocked, but she was even happier. Lin Yi was even stronger than before, able to injure a Sky-class late-stage peak. Who in the world of practitioners would dare look down on Lin Yi now? Impossible. Xiaoqi clutched his chest. He was not dead yet. This was because he had used his true qi to protect his body. However, even if he had used his true qi to protect his body, the 11th move of the Raging Flame 8 trigram palm, coupled with the Profound Qi necklace, was not something he could resist. Back in the Dark Palace, 1 dead and 2 crippled, they were your fellow disciples, right? I say, Xiaoqi, why don't you people from the 5 Elements sect learn from your mistakes? Do you think it's fun to get killed by me? Lin Yi looked at 7 and said faintly. What? 3rd senior brother, 4th senior brother, 5th senior brother, did you do it? 7's eyes went wide as he stared at Lin Yi in disbelief. His words, however, revealed the identity of Little 3, Little 4 and Little 5. Lin Yi saw that Xiaoqi's dressing was similar to the 3 robbers from the Dark Palace, and so he said it casually. He didn't expect that those 3 were Xiaoqi's senior brothers. This elder Xianxia lost 3 disciples at once. He'd have something to cry about. Oh no, it was 4. Even if Xiaoqi didn't die, he'd be crippled, and so Lin Yi didn't kill him. He thought about it and decided to let him live. Xiaoqi, do you know why I held back and didn't kill you? Chapter 33:26. But thinking about it, it was true. 3rd brother was killed, so if Lin Yi wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. He really was being merciful. Go back and tell Xianxia that he better not get involved in my business. Lin Yi warned coldly, the Ice Palace people are people I want to protect, but if he wants all his disciples to die, that's fine too. He's welcome to come again. Yes. Did little Nine dare to say no now? He could only nod. Scram. Lin Yi waved his hand, telling little Nine to leave. I'll scram now, thank you for not killing me, Master Lin. Little Nine was very dejected. He came valiantly and left with his tail between his legs, and he even got a heavy injury that couldn't be healed. He'd probably end up like 4 and 5 when he got back. Throughout the whole process, Bingtang didn't say a word. She didn't know what she wanted to say or what she could say. Lin Yi's strength had truly surpassed Sky-class late phase peak. Otherwise, how could he kill a Sky-class late phase peak? Moreover, what happened in the Dark Night Palace was actually true. With little Nine in front of her, and with him admitting it himself, Bingtang didn't believe it before, but she had to believe it now. Bingtang wanted to thank Lin Yi, but she couldn't say the word. Bingtang, little wife, we meet again. Lin Yi smiled. Who's your little? Bingtang's face reddened, but she suddenly realized that she didn't hate Lin Yi that much anymore. Was it because Lin Yi helped solve the problem? Did she really worship the strong? Were those words she said in a fit of pique really her criteria for choosing a partner? Ha! Lin Yi smiled and didn't tease Bingtang anymore. He and Xiaoxiao had been apart for so long, so naturally his mind was on her. Lin Yi held Xiaoxiao's hand. Xiaoxiao, how have you been this half a year? Are you all right? Not bad. Senior sister Bingtang is very good to me, and I'm doing well in the Ice Palace. But I really miss Lin Yi hubby and Tang. Yao Yao, little sister Shu. Xiaoxiao almost let it slip. She wasn't as experienced as Meng Yao and Yushu, and this was the first time she saw Lin Yi after Tang Yun left. She almost slipped up. Luckily, Lin didn't mind as Xiaoxiao changed the topic to Bingtang. Lin Yi honey, when are you going to marry her? She'll be your little sister then. Ahem. Xiaoxiao, what nonsense are you talking about? Crystal Candy jumped in fright. She thought that Xiaoxiao and Lin Yi were intimate, and she dodged the question for now, but it seemed like that wasn't the case at all. Xiaoxiao remembered it even more clearly than Lin Yi. What puzzled Crystal Candy was that Xiaoxiao wasn't jealous at all. Although everyone was at the ancient level and retained the ancient customs, there was also the concept of jealousy in ancient times, right? There were plenty of fights in the harem, after all. Huh? Crystal Candy, you didn't forget your promise, did you? Didn't you say it was nonsense back then? Lin Yi looked at Crystal Candy with a smile that wasn't a smile on his face. He felt as if he was a serf singing a song. How proud was Crystal Candy the last time she came to the Ice Palace. But now, the two were on equal footing, and Lin Yi was even stronger than her. Crystal Candy was speechless. Bingtang didn't know what to say. Yes, she admitted it herself, and she couldn't go back on her words now. She was the master of the Ice Palace, and she couldn't say it out loud. However, she wasn't willing to marry Lin Yi just like that. After all, those were just words she said out of anger, and there was no emotional foundation. She used to look at Lin Yi with a high and mighty attitude, because Lin Yi was a weakling in her eyes. But now, he had become the savior of the Ice Palace, and he was even more powerful than Bingtang. How could she accept this in such a short time? But without realizing it, her feelings towards Lin Yi had changed completely. She no longer looked down on Lin Yi, and instead, she was a little afraid. If it was before, she could just find a random reason to avoid Lin Yi's questioning, but now, she didn't dare say anything. Fortunately, Lin Yi didn't mean to make things difficult for her. He got down to business. Bingtang, let's talk about business first. I'll try my best to refine your Ice Heart Jade Bone Pellet for you, but I also agree to let Xiaoxiao accept the inheritance. Lin Yi's words made Xiaoxiao pause. She didn't understand why Lin Yi would suddenly agree to let her accept the inheritance. After all, Lin Yi's attitude was very firm, and now that Lin Yi had the power to talk to Crystal Candy, he had the power to change things. He compromised. Why was he doing this? Of course, Xiaoxiao hadn't contacted Meng Yao and Yushu in this period of time, so she didn't know what was going on at home. Ah! Crystal Candy was confused as well. She didn't understand why Lin Yi would agree to Xiao Xiao's request, even if he was going to make her an ice heart pill. Crystal Candy didn't understand. Crystal Candy, I'm going to say a few words to Xiao Xiao. I hope you won't spread it. Lin Yi looked at Crystal Candy and reminded her. With Crystal Candy's strength, even if Lin Yi went to the side and spoke, she wouldn't be able to hide anything. Who cares? You think I'm that gossipy? Crystal Candy pouted. Ha! Lin Yi turned to Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao, before, I was actually very against the idea of being an inheritor, because the danger you'll face is unknown, but now. Actually, the people around me have all become inheritors, and I have to change my mind. I have the power to protect you guys. So, you guys are all inheritors and you're also my girlfriends. Facing danger together, helping each other isn't a bad thing. Ah! Xiao Xiao was startled. She thought that Lin Yi already knew about Tang Yun. After all, the person beside Lin Yi was an inheritor and Lin Yi's girlfriend. Who else could it be other than Tang Yun? Of course, she didn't know that Meng Yao had already left for the Dark Palace. Chapter 33:27. Crystal Candy humphed, a little pissed off. She knew what kind of person the Grand Elder of Dark Palace was. With Lin Yi's strength, it'd be weird if the Grand Elder didn't try to get on his good side. Hee, it's fine. Isn't Senior Sister your little wife? Plus, I don't like dealing with palace stuff. Xiao Xiao didn't mind, but Yao Yao sis is an heir too? That's amazing. But didn't Lin Yi Honey say she's his girlfriend? Don't tell me you and Yao Yao already? Yes, Yao Yao's my girlfriend now. What's even more amazing is that Shu's the fire heir of Flaming Mountain. She hasn't left yet, but she's not far from it, Lin Yi said. Shu too? Xiao Xiao was completely shocked. She didn't expect Lin Yi to have so many inheritors around him. All of them were connected to Lin Yi. Crystal Candy, on the other hand, was extremely shocked as well. She knew about Meng Yao, but she didn't know about Yushu. She couldn't imagine that Xiao Xiao, Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu were all women who had a close relationship with Lin Yi, and now that they were all inheritors, Lin Yi would be in charge of Sky Class Island. Who asked them to be Lin Yi's people? Yeah, so don't worry and accept the inheritance. Your training speed should be faster. Lin Yi said. Xiao Xiao was the first to accept the inheritance, but her training speed wasn't that fast. She'd been in the Ice Palace for half a year, and she was only Sky Class early phase, and that was with all the resources in the Ice Palace. How long had Meng Yao been in the Dark Palace? Evidently, accepting the inheritance was different from not accepting it. Okay, I understand. Xiao Xiao nodded and let out a sigh of relief. This was something she had been struggling with for a long time. She knew that there was no such thing as love without a reason. In the Ice Palace, he not only saved her life, he even promised to save her mother, and even gave her all the resources. What was all this for? Wasn't it all to make her an inheritor? But without Lin Yi's approval, Xiao Xiao didn't dare say yes. Now that Lin Yi had confirmed this, she'd be a lot more loyal in the Ice Palace. This is the first thing I came here for. Lin Yi said as he pointed at the person on his back. Only then did Xiao Xiao remember that Lin Yi was carrying someone on his back. Xiao Xiao didn't know who it was, but Lin Yi was carrying him here, so something must have happened. You carried Xiao Xiao on your back last time, don't tell me you need our help this time too? Crystal Candy frowned as she looked at Xinyan on Lin Yi's back. I want to see Aunt Qing alone. Crystal Candy, make the arrangements? Lin didn't explain much, because Dongfang had told him to keep a low profile, and only say that Dongfang's identity was with Aunt Qing. Don't let too many people know. All right. Crystal Candy was a little helpless at Lin Yi's tone. It was like she was his little girl, asking her to make the arrangements? Don't you know that I'm the sect master of the Ice Palace? You want to see Aunt Qing, and you're not begging me, but asking me to make the arrangements? Of course, it was like that to other people, but to Lin Yi now, Crystal Candy didn't have any temper at all. It was like what Lin Yi said all those years ago. A hero shouldn't be afraid of a weak background. You could look down on Lin Yi back then, but you couldn't look down on the current Lin Yi. The winner was the king, and the loser was the thief. If Lin Yi didn't have the strength, he would have been kicked out already. Xiao paused. She didn't know why Lin Yi wanted to see Aunt Qing alone. Could it be that only Aunt Qing could save the person on Lin Yi's back? She didn't understand, but she knew that Lin Yi wouldn't hide things from her. Maybe it was to avoid crystal candy, so she didn't ask. After receiving the message from her disciple, Aunt Qing quickly rushed over. When she heard from her disciple that Lin Yi had crippled an emissary of the Five Elements sect who was at the peak of the late phase of Heaven stage and fled, she was a little surprised. It seemed that the previous rumors were true. Lin Yi really had such strength. But Aunt Qing was different from crystal candy. She was happy. She thought highly of Lin Yi and felt that Lin Yi was a person with backbone. Now, Lin Yi succeeded, which meant that her judgment was right. Lin Yi, you're looking for me? After Aunt Qing arrived, she saw Lin. Lin Yi was still the Lin Yi from before. From the appearance, there was no difference. Who would have thought that in half a year, there would be such a huge change? Yes, Aunt Qing. Let's find a place to talk alone. Lin Yi nodded. With Lin Yi's words, Crystal Candy couldn't say anything. After Lin Yi and Aunt Qing entered a separate living room, Crystal Candy and Xiao were together. Naturally, it wouldn't be good for them to eavesdrop. The two went to study the inheritance. Since Xiao had already agreed, this matter had to be done as soon as possible. Lin Yi, I really didn't expect that in just half a year, you would have such strength now. I'm really happy for you. Aunt Qing said sincerely, and then her face turned serious. She said seriously, why did you come to see me this time? Aunt Qing, forgive me for being direct. Do you have a sister? Did she leave with Crystal Candy's master? Lin Yi asked slowly. How did you know? Aunt Qing was very surprised when she heard Lin Yi's question. This matter was only known by a few people in the Ice Palace. No one else knew, so she was very curious. How did Lin Yi hear about it? Even Xiao didn't know, so it was even more impossible for Lin Yi to know. I have a senior. He told me, and he was the one who told me to come find you. Lin Yi said. Senior? Aunt Qing was a little puzzled. Lin Yi had a senior? Lin Yi's senior knew him? Wasn't Lin Yi a normal solo practitioner? Why was his senior also from the practitioner world? Yes, it's my grandpa. Lin Yi nodded. Your grandpa? Who is he? Aunt Qing was even more curious. His name is Lin Dongfang. Do you know him, Aunt Qing? Although Lin Yi was a little puzzled as to what kind of relationship Lin Dongfang had with Aunt Qing, since old Lin told him to come find him, then there must be a reason. So Lin Yi still said it. Chapter 33:28. I say, his name is Lin Dongfang. Do you know him, Aunt Qing? Lin Yi did not expect Aunt Qing to have such a huge reaction. This made him very puzzled. His name is Lin Dongfang? Lin Dongfang is your grandfather? At this moment, Aunt Qing lost her composure. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and shock, but more than that, there was excitement. There was news, there was finally news of him. However, Aunt Qing also had a faint sense of loss. He was married? Of course, his grandson was already so big. Lin Dongfang. It turned out that Lin Yi was not an ordinary wandering cultivator, but a wandering cultivator with a very strong background. Although in the ancient times, it was not uncommon to have a few wives and concubines, Aunt Qing was still not very happy. After all, Lin Dongfang said that with his situation he could not consider personal issues, not that he did not like Aunt Qing. But now, not only was Lin Dongfang married, but even his grandson was so big. How could Aunt Qing be happy? Wasn't this a lie? So, at this moment, Aunt Qing was a little sad. So, he is already married? So, little E, you are his grandson. No wonder you are a hero. Married? Lin Yi was stunned. Looking at Aunt Qing's resentful gaze, he seemed to think of something and could not help but smile bitterly. Could this be the old man's lover when he was young? However, it wasn't appropriate for a young person like Lin Yi to get involved in these things. He could only tell the truth. Aunt Qing, my grandpa isn't married. I'm an orphan that he adopted. He can be counted as my master as well as my family. So that's how it is? Little Qing's originally disappointed eyes suddenly became bright at this moment. The gaze that looked at Lin Yi also became a lot more kind. Lin Yi was Lin Dongfang's godson. Wasn't that the same as her own? It seemed that helping Lin Yi in the past was really the right thing to do. Aunt Qing's voice trembled as she asked, "Your grandfather, is he okay? Where is he?" "I don't know. He used a special method to contact me and told me to find you, but I don't know exactly what he is doing and what he is busy with." Although Lin Yi could see that the relationship between Aunt Qing and Lin Dongfang was definitely not ordinary, in order not to expose Lin Dongfang's whereabouts, he could only lie against his will. "Ah, so that's how it is." Aunt Qing sighed. In fact, she had already guessed it. How could Lin Dongfang not have left with them? "Grandpa said that it's fine for you to know about this. He doesn't want too many people to know." Lin said, "Oh." Aunt Qing was a little surprised. From the looks of it, Lin Yi didn't seem to know Lin Dongfang's power. He also didn't know what Lin Dongfang's grandson represented in the ancient era. If he had told Bingtang about his background, would Bingtang have dared to say those words? Obviously not, and Lin Yi claimed to be a wandering cultivator. A hero doesn't ask about his background. He probably didn't know Lin Dongfang's true strength. Then, it also proved that Lin Dongfang left when Lin Yi was very young. Lin Yi was still ignorant at that time. "Aunt Qing, I came to find you this time because of the person on me." As Lin Yi spoke, he put Wang Xinyan on the sofa in the living room and said, "I heard that your sister's physique is very similar to hers." Lin Yi didn't say the rest of the sentence because he didn't need to say it. He believed that Aunt Qing could understand what Lin Yi meant. Sure enough, Aunt Qing's expression became serious. She looked at Wang Xinyan on the sofa and said, "You said that she also has a sponge physique?" Lin Yi nodded slowly and told Aunt Qing about Wang Xinyan's situation from beginning to end in detail. He also emphasized the matter of the orchid jade grass. In that case, if there are no accidents, it should be this kind of physique. After listening, Aunt Qing nodded slowly. "You came to find me to find a solution, right?" "That's right." With this layer of relationship with Lin Dongfang, Lin Yi became closer to Aunt Qing. He spoke more naturally. "I heard that Aunt Qing's sister also had this kind of physique. Then, on the road of cultivation, she had extraordinary achievements. Little Yi, since you are Dongfang's godson, you are the same as my junior. I will spare no effort in this matter to help you." Aunt Qing said, "But, although I know my sister's situation very well, you have to know that her success can't be replicated." "What do you mean?" Lin Yi was stunned. "Back then, with the help of the Ice Palace's old palace master, my sister found a cultivation ground blessed by the heavens. Coupled with the mantra, she was able to quickly increase her strength and become a peak late-stage heaven realm expert." Auntie Qing said, "However, that unique training ground contained limited heaven and earth spiritual energy. My sister used up more than half of it. Later, Palace Mistress Bingtang also cultivated there. Together with the cultivation of some disciples, that place was almost the same as an ordinary place. There was nothing special about it. In other words, without a training ground, just the mantra is useless, right?" Lin Yi frowned. "Yes," Aunt Qing said with certainty. "So that's how it is." Lin Yi sighed slightly. This was very similar to what Lin Dongfang expected. In a place with abundant heaven and earth energy, Wang Xinyan could recover. Even if she didn't train, she could still live. But the problem now was, where could they find such a place? Lin Yi pondered for a moment and couldn't help but ask, is there no substitute? Must it be a place with abundant heaven and earth energy? There seems to be another way. Let me think. With that, Aunt Qing closed her eyes and fell into deep thought. Lin Yi didn't dare to disturb her. He quietly waited for Aunt Qing's answer. This was Lin Yi's only hope. Lin Yi didn't think that Wang Xinyan's physique would be so complicated. But no matter what, Wang Xinyan's problem was because of him. If he didn't absorb the fragrance in her body, Wang Xinyan would still be safe. At most, she couldn't expose her physique and she couldn't become a practitioner. But even if she exposed her physique now, so what?